When reality makes no sense, the bloody dark-haired man screams in absolute denial. The dark-haired man gazes up at a tragic, blood-stained throne room filled with fallen warriors. He struggles to comprehend why his black flames fail to injure the formidable hero standing before him. The red-caped hero plunges his glowing sword straight through the Demon King's chest. Bleeding and clutching the blade, the dark-haired Demon King desperately wonders how this defeat was possible. He recalls his glorious past as the top student at the prestigious Demon King Officer Academy. He rigorously studied the ancient Demon King's playbook, meticulously following its directives. Adhering to the playbook, he built a tower, kidnapped princesses, and nurtured rising heroes. The playbook instructed him to let the heroes grow strong before finally devouring them. Imbued with immense dark energy, he reigns supreme as the ultimate Demon King. He laments his crushing defeat, unable to fathom why he lies broken on his throne. With blood on his face, the fallen ruler demands to know how his plans failed. The grinning hero mocks the Demon King's disbelief, claiming the demons brought this on themselves. The Demon King reacts in disbelief, but the hero points out that kidnapping famous princesses is just a massive signal inviting heroes to stop them. Grabbing him by the hair, the hero mockingly explains that killing the actual king instead would have plunged the entire kingdom into chaos. The Demon King silently recalls the playbook's warning that a king's kidnapping causes a distracting civil war. The hero laughs mockingly, expressing gratitude for the convenient monster attacks that perfectly trained them. The hero explains that the weak first-floor monsters provide the perfect pacing for heroes to level up. The Demon King trembles as the hero details how the playbook's training methods backfired on them. A fierce strike sends the Demon King hurtling backward off his ruined throne. The Demon King coughs up blood, his eyes wide with absolute shock and horror. Standing triumphantly over him, the hero casually explains that they simply kill the Demon King once things get repetitive. With a manic grin, the hero calls the Demon's Tower a perfect hunting ground designed solely for heroes. Lying defeated on the ground, the Demon King despairs at the realization that his tower was merely a playground. The hero cheerfully notes that many companions died, but celebrates the fame it brings him. The hero prepares to deliver the final blow, bidding a cold farewell to the fallen king. Gripping the dirt, the humiliated Demon King curses the playbook that led to his downfall. Defiant until the end, he refuses to die pathetically and summons his remaining power. With a terrifying roar, the Demon King proudly declares his royal title as energy surges. A massive, violent slash cuts through the air, splattering crimson blood across the chamber. The Demon King screams in sheer fury as the final moments of his life unfold. Surrounding heroes look on in stunned silence as the final battle concludes. Sun-splattered blood stains the cold stone ceiling of the collapsing throne room. The surviving heroes stand victorious over the fallen remains of the Demon King. Bleeding heavily, the dying Demon King vows that those who insulted him will face consequences. His fading eye reflects the hero's silhouette as he mutters his final promise of vengeance. The victorious hero stands before the empty throne as the Demon King's consciousness slips away. Suddenly, violent purple lightning erupts from the Demon King's body, startling the victorious hero. Channeling his remaining life force, the Demon King prepares to unleash a desperate final spell. Realization strikes the hero as he frantically warns his companions of the impending danger. A blinding explosion of purple magical energy consumes the entire throne room. The hero screams in sheer terror as the overwhelming magic disintegrates everything in its path. The souls of the fallen heroes are ripped away, manifesting as shrieking purple skulls. As his physical form disintegrates, the Demon King bitterly regrets ever trusting the flawed playbook. He curses his blind obedience to the ancient rules that ultimately led to his doom. Swirling in the void, he desperately wishes for one more chance to rewrite his fate. He vows to immediately discard the deceptive playbook if he ever returns to life. He resolved that the cursed book would be better suited as mere trash for monsters. A sudden brilliant blue light pierces the darkness, echoing the name of Regressed. The dark-haired protagonist's eye snaps open in absolute shock as he suddenly awakens. A crowd of demon officers stands in stunned silence, bewildered by a sudden, defiant outburst. Regressed furiously rejects the ridiculous vow, refusing to blindly follow the flawed playbook ever again. He passionately denounces the playbook as an idiotic guide that leads only to pathetic ruin. His shocking outburst leaves him completely isolated under the silent judging glares of his peers. His classmates gasp in utter disbelief at his unprecedented rebellion against their sacred doctrines. An esteemed demon officer reacts with sheer fury, his glasses shattering from the shock. An elder demon joins the outrage, roaring in absolute disbelief at the young cadet's insolence. The Academy's historic top student reflects on how this moment cemented his status as a legendary troublemaker. His defiance sets him on a chaotic new path as a truly unconventional Demon King. A heavy fist slams down onto the desk, echoing the fury of the High Council. Grand Duke Alkine Blama threatens immediate execution as punishment for insulting their sacred playbook. Acknowledging his exceptional talent, the Grand Duke decides to offer the rebellious prodigy one final chance. He orders Berez to apologize immediately or face a dangerous assignment to the realm of Eriding. Whispers erupt among the masked onlookers, who recognize the deadly realm of Arain as a death sentence. The spectators murmur that a traitor who insulted their holy text deserves no mercy or second chances. Rather than begging for forgiveness, Burrs defiantly demands to be sent to that very realm. He confidently vows to survive the trial and prove their cherished playbook is utter garbage. With all leniency revoked, the Grand Duke officially orders Bursey's banishment to the realm of Arain. The magic activates, stripping him of all rank privileges and forcing him to face the world alone. He is cast out into the sky, forbidden from returning home until his conquest is complete. As he falls, he reflects that this harsh banishment is exactly where his story began before. He remembers that even in his past life, he had willingly chosen this difficult realm. Arrogantly, he had believed the extreme difficulty of this realm was perfect for a genius like him. That fatal pride led directly to his demise when the heroes exploited his playbook's predictable rules. A violent magical explosion rips through the snow-covered peaks, signaling his dramatic arrival in Arain. Spreading his massive dark wings, he lands gracefully amidst the freezing mountain winds of Arain. Vowing never to repeat his mistakes, he resolves to turn the tables on his future enemies. Instead of relying on demon traditions, he decides to master the rules of the heroes instead. The advisor is shocked when he readily agrees to a task he would usually refuse. The dark-haired advisor offers to accompany him, but Barazi orders him to stay and guard the tower. The loyal aide smiles with immense relief, convinced his master is finally acting like a proper ruler. The helper asks which of his strong followers he plans to take on this mission. Inside a lavishly decorated room, a blonde princess sits frozen in surprise at his sudden entry. Staring at the winged intruder with wide purple eyes, she softly asks for his identity. He looks at her under the moonlight and bluntly declares his intent to kidnap her. He flies across the snowy peaks of the Regressed Mountains, carrying the princess to his tower. He arrives at his castle carrying the sleeping girl, greeted by his relieved, long-haired assistant. His assistant's expression turns grave as he mentions having urgent news to deliver. The princess finds herself standing alone in the vast, empty expanse of the tower's 4th floor. Sitting on the cold stone, she laments the lack of cozy pillows and luxury in her captivity. She realizes with dismay that there are absolutely no blankets or handmaidens to assist her. Despite the terrible conditions, a bright, excited smile slowly spreads across her blushing face. Back in his chambers, Burrs questions the sudden invitation sent from the rival Tower of Beasts. While his aide explains it as a welcoming party, Burrs recognizes it as a pathetic hazing attempt. He notes that although demon kings are usually solitary, Arain's extreme difficulty forced them to cooperate. He decides that a little social interaction might actually work to his advantage this time. A colossal beast blocks his path, mockingly asking if he is the newly arrived Demon King. The beast sneers, calling him nothing special despite his rumors of defying their sacred playbook. Unfazed, Bursey demands the beast state its business instead of wasting time trying to pick fights. Eating a massive piece of meat, the beast reveals that Grand Duke Alkine ordered him to watch Bursey. The beastly senior Demon King mockingly asks if Burrs is referring to the noisy old vampire, while Burrs silently realizes his superior is likely still bitter about banishing him to Arain. Bursey grimly contemplates how his actions must deviate from the highly predictable rules of the demon playbook. The beastly Demon King is completely stunned and sweat-drenched, inwardly marveling at the young cadet's unbelievable guts. Walking away alongside his aide, Bursey casually reveals that he has already kidnapped a princess of his own choosing, leaving the senior Demon King dumbfounded. Bursey confidently asserts that the captive is a woman he specifically selected himself. Burrs calculates that capturing a low-ranking princess is a safe bet that will only yield a small amount of magic points. Looking at his floating status screen, Burrs is utterly shocked to find his points have inexplicably surged to over 13,000. Bursey turns in surprise as a glowing system notification arrives to deliver an unexpected message. The holographic projection of the senior Demon King begrudgingly offers his congratulations to the newcomer. The hologram of the senior Demon King questions if Burrs' public insult of the playbook was merely a clever trick. Cold sweat breaks out on Burrs' face as he realizes his calculations have gone horribly awry. The long-haired advisor runs in frantically to report that a major crisis has occurred on the 4th floor. A beautiful, lush forest landscape, complete with a flowing waterfall and butterflies, has suddenly manifested inside the tower. Brightly colored butterflies flutter peacefully over vibrant yellow and white flowers. Burrs stares in absolute shock and bewilderment, struggling to comprehend what he is seeing. Burrs finds himself standing in the center of a massive, beautifully simulated digital biosphere inside a stone tower. The blonde princess greets him cheerfully while surrounded by water, fire, and wind elementals, leaving Burrs shocked by her incredible power. Bursey recognizes that creating such a perfect natural habitat requires absolute mastery over all 4 elements. Bursey recalls that he targeted the 13th princess who should not possess such peerless spirit magic talent. Bursey confronts the girl about her identity, and she cheerfully points out that he mistook her for Princess Elena after all. Burrs stares at her in absolute horror as the terrifying weight of his mistake sets in. The blonde princess displays a highly mischievous, triumphant grin. In the Hilderan Kingdom, a sudden announcement reveals that their revered crown princess has been kidnapped by a demon king. Furious decrees echo through the ranks to execute the foolish kidnapper and rescue the princess immediately. The princess wears a smug, knowing smile as she enjoys her captivity. She reveals a glowing purple ring, explaining it is a royal heirloom capable of completely hiding one's mana. Burz worries that returning her now would make him a coward and ruin his ability to gather rage-based magic points. With his back against the wall, Burz resolves that he has no choice but to aggressively push through. A system alert confirms that the immense outrage has pushed his magic points to nearly 20,000. Burz sternly reminds the smug princess that she is still strictly his hostage. The Grand White Castle of the Hilderan Kingdom stands tall under a stormy overcast sky. The king rages from his throne, demanding his soldiers find the Demon King and bring back his daughter. The sweating court advisors anxiously explain that they have sent scouts but still do not know which Demon King is responsible. The king screams in a towering rage, demanding they stop dawdling and identify the kidnapper immediately. An advisor recalls that the previous Demon King generated so much rage that heroes quickly eradicated him. The advisor with glasses notes how incredibly bizarre it is for another Demon King to repeat the exact same mistake. The sudden realization of the situation leaves the gathered nobles staring in silent, comical shock. The king's hand trembles with intense, barely suppressed fury as he grips his golden throne. The king growls in anger, realizing they are dealing with an entirely new, unpredictable threat. An armored scout kneels to report that traces of a teleportation circle point directly toward the frozen Regressed Mountains. The king gasps in shock and fury upon hearing the destination. The scene transitions to Burz's formidable tower located deep within the snowy peaks of the Regressed Mountains. The massive dark tower stands isolated amidst the freezing mountain winds. Back in his study, Burz wears a highly confident, sinister smirk. Burz reassures his panicked assistant that the Hilderan Kingdom will be unable to mobilize its army. He explains that rival nations will block the king's troops, forcing the kingdom to rely entirely on the Hero Guild. Realizing his military options are politically impossible, the defeated king reluctantly orders his men to contact the Hero Guild. The towering white spires of the Hero Guild headquarters stand amidst a snowy pine forest. Inside the guild hall, mercenary heroes complain that the Regressed Mountains are far too dangerous to risk their lives for a rescue. Burz confidently notes that the money-grubbing heroes of the guild will never risk their lives for a suicide mission. Burz explains that the extreme danger of the mountains is precisely why he settled there. The long-haired advisor is amazed that his master thoroughly understands Arene despite ignoring the playbook. The advisor silently wonders if his master has somehow experienced this dangerous realm once before. The crowned king screams in a towering rage about the cowardly heroes lacking a courage. He laments that the Hero Guild has become entirely driven by greed and profit. Viewing his status screen, Burz calculates that his current magic points cannot defeat a full hero army. He grimly recalls how terrifyingly powerful the overwhelming numbers of the hero army truly are. Burz orders his long-haired advisor Gordon to contact Draxen to sell magic energy for human money. Gordon shrieks in pure, unadulterated shock at his master's bizarre and unprecedented command. Gordon frantically argues that magic energy is a priceless currency that should never be traded for money. Burz calmly explains that Draxen will pay handsomely, allowing him to use human money to secure his defense. The scene transitions to the grand fortress city of Hortonwork near the Regressed Mountains. A mysterious cloaked figure walks past the oblivious city guard stationed at the entrance. Guards stop the lone traveler, questioning why a single mercenary would brave the Regressed Mountains. A sudden click sounds as the cloaked mercenary bribes the guard with a shining gold koi. The bribed guards immediately let him through, allowing him to enter the bustling fortress city. Walking through the crowded streets, he realizes he cannot search the city entirely on his own. Inside a bustling tavern, a mercenary chief laughs off his subordinate's suggestion to leave the city. The chief boasts that staying in Hortonwork is a goldmine for scooping up easy leftovers. Patrons whisper about the rumors of a new Demon King building a tower in the nearby mountains. The chief mockingly asserts that Demon Kings always predictably build towers in easy-to-find locations. The subordinate loudly questions if a Demon King would ever travel so far just for a kidnapping. Mercenaries discuss how even a mountain of gold was not enough to persuade the Hero Guild. The chief explains that the heroes are simply stalling to squeeze more money out of the kingdom. The tavern patrons heartily agree that the heroes are absolutely obsessed with greed and money. Suddenly, an ominous dark shadow looms over the chief, sending him crashing to the floor in terror. Burz smirks as he towers over them, noting they seem perfect to act as his guides. Burz coldly orders them to leave only one guide behind while the rest vanish. Furious, the Red Hawk mercenaries draw their weapons and lung forward to attack the arrogant intruder. With effortless power, Burz blasts them back, sending the attacking mercenaries flying through the air. The remaining mercenaries watch in absolute horror as their allies are easily defeated. Colossal muscular mercenary leaps from above, bringing down a massive wooden mallet with full force. A blinding shockwave erupts as the heavy weapon crashes down toward the dark-haired demon. Burz easily catches the massive mallet with one hand, his eyes glowing with sadistic red light. The giant mercenary breaks into a cold sweat, realizing his strongest attack was stopped effortlessly. Shattering the weapon, Burz tosses the giant aside and grabs the terrified chief by the face. The chief screams in terror, calling him a monster as Burz flashes a terrifying fanged grin. Screams of agony echo from the tavern as shocked townspeople listen from the street outside. Passers-by simply sigh, assuming the unruly mercenary group is just getting into another typical tavern brawl. The tavern is completely decimated, with defeated mercenaries unconscious on the floor around the victorious Burz. Burz promises to spare the trembling chief's life if he cooperates and answers all his questions. Back in his study, Burz discusses purchasing allied race prisoners whom the humans have kept as slaves. He aims to acquire a green-haired elf slave with an exceptional reputation for purity. Burz plans to use the elf as a spy to throw the hero guild into total confusion. In the Hilderan Palace, the king welcomes the noble golden-haired hero Hillen Cargill, who has arrived. Hero Hillen Cargill vows to rescue the crown princess and bring back the Demon King's head. Cargill's golden eyes burn with intense determination to fulfill his sworn duty to the kingdom. Green-haired elf watches intensely from behind bars as Burz's master plan is set into motion. Burz declares his intent to buy the elf slave, bluntly making his captive guide pay for it. Burz orders the sellers to leave so he can personally inspect the caged elf alone. The gray-haired merchant grudgingly accepts the deal, confident that he will be compensated if anything goes wrong. Stepping into the dark, quiet courtyard, the cloaked traveler approaches the chained elf's metal cage. Noting the elf's fallen status, the black-haired demon uses his purple magic to unlock the heavy shackles. Glaring with fierce intensity, the green-haired elf demands to know what a demon could possibly want with him. Standing before the cage, the demon extends an offer for the enslaved elf to take revenge on humanity. Though tempted, the skeptical elf retorts that a demon's promises are just as untrustworthy as a human's. The black-haired demon proposes a contract, promising safety and absolute freedom after 50 years of loyal service. He challenges the captive elf, pointing out that serving him is far better than enduring human humiliation. The elf firmly rejects the offer, explaining that his kind serves the sacred world tree that demons seek to destroy. He adds that it is highly unusual for a demon to seek out an elf's help. A mischievous fanged smirk spreads across the demon's face as he prepares to make a formal counteroffer. Summoning his glowing magical book, the demon vows never to touch the world tree to seal the contract. Stunned by this ultimate oath, the elf watches as his binding magical chains completely shatter to pieces. Amused by the demon's extreme commitment, the green-haired elf finally cracks a wide, approving grin. Introducing himself as Granada, the proud elf demands to meet the Demon King in person before swearing his vow. Granada bursts into wild laughter, boldly declaring he will double his service to 100 years of true. Upon entering the grand throne room, Granada stands before the Demon King, sitting calmly on his massive throne. Burz smugly accepts the 100-year contract, leaving the utterly stunned elf to realize his new master's true identity. Realizing he has been tricked, Granada furiously screams that the empty tower is a complete scam. Granada continues his angry rant, pointing out that there is absolutely nothing on the first 3 floors. He is utterly appalled that the 4th floor is just a lush, peaceful forest with no monsters. He desperately yells that they will not survive a single year before heroes arrive to defeat them. A menacing void of dark purple magic erupts, coldly reminding Granada of their unbreakable binding contract. A sudden explosion of supreme magical pressure flashes through the chamber, completely overwhelming the trembling elf. Drenched in cold sweat, Granada finally recognizes the terrifying, godlike power of a true Demon King. Remembering their journey through the mountains, Granada notes that the catastrophic local monsters didn't dare attack them. He realizes with absolute awe that even the wild mountain beasts are terrified of his master's presence. Kneeling down, Granada formally swears on the world tree to serve the Demon King for 100 years. Accepting his oath, Burz casually orders his new servant to immediately go and prepare some food. Granada's mind goes completely blank as he stares in hilarious, silent disbelief at his first master command. A rhythmic, fast-tapping sound echoes as the elite elf begrudgingly chops vegetables while questioning his life choices. The cheerful blonde princess happily joins in on the cooking duty, accompanied by her floating elemental spirits. The group gathers in the grand dining hall to share a surprisingly peaceful meal together. Leaning in anxiously, Granada quietly asks his master if the blonde girl is actually from the Hilderan kingdom. Burz casually confirms her royal identity, leaving the elf even more bewildered by this crazy household. Granada completely loses his mind, screaming about the madness of kidnapping a crown princess with 0 defenses. Munching on his food, Burz calmly explains that this exact scenario is why he purchased the elf. As the princess boasts about her assistance, the exhausted elf silently wonders what kind of madness he entered. Granada asks if he must fight the heroes, but Burz explains that the tower's location is the real defense. Burz reveals his actual plan, ordering Granada to return to the human world as a deep-cover spy. Challenging the elf to a duel, Burz raises his hands to test Granada's combat readiness. To motivate him, Burz promises to cut the service contract in half if Granada wins the match. Accepting the challenge, Granada charges forward with his rocky earth magic, determined to win his freedom. A sudden, violent gust of wind whips across the lush grass as the intense duel officially begins. Granada leaps into the air to strike, but Burzy effortlessly deflects the incoming blow with one hand. Impressed, Burzy praises the elf's quick movements and his distinct ability to absorb the forest's mana. Granada flashes a confident grin, believing his opponent has severely underestimated his true martial prowess. A sudden rustle sounds as glowing golden vines burst from the soil, tightly binding the Demon King's leg. Seizing the perfect opening, Granada throws a powerful, magically infused punch to reclaim his 50 years. Suddenly, Granada freezes in pure horror as his target reveals a terrifying secret card up his sleeve. A resounding crash echoes across the frozen valley where the Black Tower stands tall. The scene shifts to the quiet streets of the fortress city beneath the mountains. The mercenary chief celebrates wildly, his eyes gleaming with greed over their new arrangement. The mercenaries swear a lifelong loyalty to their chief, leaving him privately wishing he could replace them all. Burzy introduces a new proxy to relay orders, forcing the cooperative chief to accept immediately. Having left the hero situation to Granada, attention shifts back to Burz's snowy tower. Sitting upon his throne, Burzy resolves to focus on increasing his own power next. Since Burzy sold his magic points, he must find alternative ways to grow stronger immediately. Pure crystallized mana sprouts in the harsh storms of the Regressed mountain range. Fearsome monsters keep humans away, allowing rare spirit herbs to absorb natural mana undisturbed. Burzy decides to search the mountains for these valuable spirit herbs to bolster his strength. Granada points out that finding the elusive herbs requires someone with exceptional mana sensing abilities. A sudden knock at the door interrupts their conversation, drawing their curious gazes. The young blonde princess peeks into the room, sheepishly asking if they are busy. Both the Demon King and the elf stare in surprise at her sudden appearance. She enthusiastically admits that she was incredibly bored and is eager for some excitement. Smiling brightly, she reminds Burzy of his promise to let her decorate the 4th floor. Burzy agrees on the condition that she helps locate the herbs, silently sweating over her design plans. The sheer absurdity of redecorating a dark Demon King's tower boggles the mind. She rejoices at the unexpected chance to finally step outside the towering fortress. She looks up in confusion as Burzy suddenly reaches down to hoist her up. He tells her to hold on tight before launching them into the sky on massive dark wings. Ernyon squeezes her eyes shut, bracing herself against the rushing wind in extreme altitude. Slowly, she opens a single eye to witness the breathtaking view unfolding before her. She realizes that her dark, terrifying kidnapping had completely obscured the world's beauty. Gazing at the endless golden mountains, she marvels at how vast the world truly is. She recalls her suffocating royal childhood, filled with nothing but endless repetitive study and training. She asks him to call her Ernyon, hoping to build a friendlier rapport during their time together. Her floating elemental spirit scans the snowy landscape with focused intensity. Finding a single hidden herb in such an immense landscape is a daunting task. Fortunately, a spirit composed of pure mana can easily track the magical herbs down. Ernyon happily announces that her elemental companion has successfully located a spirit herb. A beautiful radiant blue spirit herb stands glowing amid the frozen mountain peaks. Their discovery is interrupted by a hostile pack of feral blue monsters guarding the herb. Burzy imperiously commands the beasts to respect their Demon King and surrender the herb peacefully. The stubborn monsters fiercely reject his authority, preparing to attack the intruders instead. A sadistic smirk spreads across Burz's face as he laughs at their foolish defiance. Acknowledging the futility of negotiating with wild beasts, Burz prepares to unleash his power. Ominous purple magic flares in his hands, ready to reduce the beasts to ash. The monsters charge forward with bloodthirsty intent, completely unaware of the doom awaiting them. With cold precision, Burz aims a concentrated burst of deadly purple magic. A massive torrent of purple fire incinerates the attacking monsters in a single strike. The residual demonic energy forms a terrifying spectral maw, consuming the battlefield. Ernyon watches the display of overwhelming destructive power in absolute silent shock. Burzy calmly stands down, completely unfazed by the swift and effortless victory. The pure force of the blast clears the surrounding snowstorm in a blinding shockwave. She is deeply impressed that beasts legendary for devouring ogres were instantly obliterated. Burzy senses something interesting as they finally approach the protected area. Ernyon marvels at the incredible purity of the rare blue hyacinth spirit herb. Meanwhile, a heavily guarded row convoy travels through the night as forces continue to gather. Gordon presents Burz with holographic proposals for defending against the heroes, asking him to review them carefully. Burz immediately rejects and deletes the plans, leaving Gordon in complete disbelief. Burzy announces his plan to completely refrain from sending monsters or interfering with the heroes. Burzy explains that mild opposition only strengthens heroes, ordering Gordon to have Granada infiltrate their party to build trust. Though Gordon worries about their lack of defenses, Burzy promises to strengthen the tower. Gordon is sent into an outraged panic when Burzy reveals his plan to recruit dwarves. A sharp metallic clanking sound echoes through the streets of the quiet cavern city. The scene introduces Roger Fredry, renowned as the greatest dwarf blacksmith of his people. The imposing grand gates of Wolfner, the dwarf city, stand tall in the cavernous depths. Wearing a dark cloak, Burrs reflects on his past lifetime of dealing with dwarfs. Bedze offers gold to a dwarven tavern keeper to find the city's finest blacksmith. The gray-bearded dwarf tavern keeper happily accepts the gold, confirming they care deeply about money. The tavern keeper directs Burzag to a massive elevator protected by a double-layer security system. A sudden shadow swiftly slips past the high metallic fence, bypassing security. Alarms blare throughout the city as Burza holds the kidnapped blacksmith captive on a high ledge. Burz threatens Roger to keep quiet, dismissing the dwarf's assumption that he is after the princess. Knowing dwarf blacksmith habits, Burz demands Roger lead him through his secret escape tunnel. Terrified of fighting a demon king, the notoriously weak dwarf hero despairs over his terrible situation. Burz slyly offers to kidnap the princess instead and set Roger free. Roger is horrified by the prospect of being branded a traitor who sold out his princess. Burze points out how severely his reputation would suffer once such rumors spread. Terrified of the disgrace, Roger furiously curses the Demon King's vicious blackmailing tactics. Realizing his weak reputation makes the rumors highly believable, Roger fears lifelong torture. Burz proposes to guarantee Roger's safety by swearing a sacred oath on the Demon King's playbook. Roger acknowledges that no Demon King would ever break a promise sworn on the sacred creed. Convinced by the absolute weight of the oath, the blacksmith finally gives in. Roger gazes up with a sparkly, hopeful expression, much to Burz's annoyance. Armed guards assemble before a towering steam column in the industrial heart of the city. Princess Louise Burpf looks on with deeply concerned, sparkling eyes. The muscular Princess Louise demands to know where her blacksmith went mid-commission. Princess Louise furiously yells at her guards, refusing to believe a hero could be easily kidnapped. She fiercely commands her soldiers to track down the kidnapper and bring him to her. With a terrifying grin, the princess threatens to rip out their hair if they fail. Roger leads the way, awkwardly wiggling as he crawls through a narrow dirt tunnel. Thoroughly disgusted by the view, Burz complains while Roger defends his tunnel's cramped design. Burzy impatiently demands that the struggling dwarf crawl faster through the tunnel. Emerging from the secret escape hole, they look back at the illuminated castle bridge from safety. Exhausted on the grassy cliff, Roger declares his job finished and prepares to leave. Burz unleashes his dark wings and purple magic, questioning the dwarf's assumptions. Burzy casually dismisses his playbook oath, leaving the terrified dwarf completely shocked. Roger deeply regrets his decision as the Demon King's dark hand looms over him. Roger desperately begs for mercy, offering his peerless blacksmithing skills to the Demon King. Eager to stay alive, the weeping dwarf promises to leak crucial intelligence about his own city. Amused by the blacksmith's desperate display of loyalty, Burz agrees to spare his life. Overcome with relief, Roger lets out a hysterical, frantic burst of laughter. His wide-eyed, maniacal laughter intensifies as his survival is officially guaranteed. Standing on the peaceful forest floor of the tower, the team watches Roger's hysterical laughter in silence. Burzy asks with a smug grin if the blacksmith is truly that happy. Praising his cooperative attitude, Burzy prepares to hand the weeping dwarf his new assignment. Braze grants Roger freedom to modify the first floor, strictly banning the use of mana stones. Roger protests that old-fashioned traps won't work on heroes, but Burise demands he make them work anyway. Roger explains that heroes easily detect mana stones, making them useless for stealthy traps. Roger hysterically boasts about his masterpiece weapon that took 3 years to construct. Burza agrees to trust him but fastens a glowing magical collar around Roger's neck. Burz explains that the magical device will instantly decapitate Roger if he tries to escape. Burz warns that removing the face-altering device will be treated as a fatal escape attempt. A map outlines Burz's careful journey across various kingdoms to gather required tower materials. Over a month, Burz purchases the necessary supplies and stores them in his subspace pocket. Burz and the disguised blacksmith finally return to the cavernous dwarf city of Wolfner. Princess Louise furiously scolds her guards for failing to find her kidnapped blacksmith after several weeks. Guards explain the difficulty of searching countless escape tunnels, suggesting the blacksmith has escaped. Princess Louise sarcastically fumes that any logical kidnapper would have obviously fled the area by now. Princess Louise violently threatens the head guard with death if the kidnapper is not found within 2 weeks. Princess Louise commands her soldiers to immediately seal off every tunnel constructed by the blacksmiths. Princess Louise laments over the unfinished weapon Roger was crafting for her before his abduction. Princess Louise psychotically demands that Roger stay alive solely to finish crafting her personal weapon. Princess Louise turns around in surprise as Roger unexpectedly emerges from a hidden floor hatch. Princess Louise stares in silent confusion at the mysterious masked intruder who has just appeared. The magical mask successfully distorts Roger's facial features to hide his true identity from others. Princess Louise watches in silent confusion, unable to recognize her own masked blacksmith standing before her. The imposing princess confronts the disguised dwarf as he tries to sneak back into the forge. Princess Louise cracks her golden gauntlets, laughing menacingly at the pathetic intruder. Princess Louise declares that the intruder will be enslaved for life to craft weapons as punishment. Princess Louise lunges forward to violently punish the weeping dwarf for his perceived escape attempt. A swift black boot suddenly steps in, intercepting the princess's brutal attack at the last second. Burrs orders Roger to retrieve his masterpiece while holding off the furious dwarf princess. Princess Louise demands to know why Burzy is intervening, and Burzy claims to be Roger's master. Rejecting his claim, Princess Louise leaps to attack, asserting her absolute ownership over the blacksmith. Princess Louise unleashes a barrage of golden strikes, furious that someone is trying to steal her property. Burrs counters the princess's relentless assault with a devastating kick infused with dark purple magic. Princess Louise successfully blocks Burrs' powerful kick, shocking the Demon King with her immense physical strength. Burzy swiftly grabs the princess's head, preparing to neutralize her while warning Roger to hurry. A violent explosion of dark and golden energy erupts as the two powerhouses collide. Princess Louise Berft, the second dwarf princess, is introduced as an exceptionally powerful combatant despite not being a hero. A flashback reveals that Princess Louise was historically one of the strongest fighters before Burrs' regression. Burrs realizes he cannot easily kill her without fully exposing his true Demon King powers. Burrs worries that unleashing his full demonic strength will expose his identity to the castle guards. Meanwhile, Roger desperately struggles to disassemble his massive masterwork machine amidst the chaos of battle. Burrs impatiently demands to know if the equipment is ready, while Roger admits he is still disassembling it. The magnificent Mana Phantom, designed by Roger to completely conceal mana traces, is finally revealed. Burrs terrifyingly threatens Roger to finish disassembling the massive machine within a single minute. Burrs prepares to hold the line, unsure how long he can survive without using his true power. The battle reaches a spectacular climax as Burrs' purple aura clashes with the princess's golden lightning. Princess Louise vows to slaughter the intruder and permanently cripple Roger to prevent him from escaping again. Burrs mocks the princess's brutal nature, confidently declaring that he is successfully stealing both her blacksmith and machine. The massive mechanical device begins to hiss loudly, releasing immense pressure as it is disassembled. Falling debris rains down as the colossal machine is rapidly pulled into Burzy subspace portal. Princess Louise screams in absolute rage, realizing Roger only returned to retrieve his prized invention. Burrs spots a momentary lapse in the princess's defense and instantly prepares to strike. Burzy lands a heavy, decisive kick to the princess's chest, capitalizing on her distraction. A massive impact shatters the metallic floor as the intense combat reaches its chaotic climax. Burrs quickly activates his subspace pocket, commanding Roger to get out of the way. Unfazed by the blast, Princess Louise arrogantly boasts that such a weak attack cannot even touch her. Princess Louise stands in complete shock upon realizing her target has vanished from the platform. When her sluggish guards finally arrive, Princess Louise furiously scolds them for their delayed response. A massive explosion detonates as Princess Louise fiercely commands her soldiers to pursue the intruders. Finding the escape tile sealed, Princess Louise sadly deduces her blacksmith truly despised crafting her weapon. Her sadness instantly morphs into a terrifying, psychotic grin as she plans her next move. Driven by absolute obsession, Princess Louise vows to search the entire continent for her blacksmith. With a wild, bloodshot eye, she screams Roger's name, swearing to make him regret his escape. Heavy iron chains snap together, securely locking the massive gear mechanism into place. The colossal mechanical orb stands completed within the grand chamber of the tower's first floor. The maid and the blonde princess marvel at the giant mana device designed to stop invading heroes. Roger proudly announces the installation is complete, prompting Burrs to order its immediate activation. Burrs sternly demands that the device prove its worth, so Roger quickly starts the auto-activation. With a heavy mechanical hum, a swirling blue vortex of concentrated energy ignites inside the machine. A blinding flash of brilliant blue light floods the chamber, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. A system notification alerts Burrs that synchronizing the machine requires 10,000 points. Burrs stands intrigued, surprised to discover his magic tower possesses such an advanced synchronization function. Eager to unlock its secrets, Burrs confirms the command, instantly consuming his accumulated points. A system prompt confirms the machine now recognizes Burzy as master, converting its power to magic energy. Roger frantically explains that even he did not foresee the machine fusing with the tower. Roger ecstatically declares it a historic discovery, leaving Burrs amused by his creator's ignorance. Burrs invites the blonde princess to test the newly synchronized tower with any magic spell she desires. The princess joyfully casts a chaotic magic storm, leaving the neat maid elf weeping over the mess. Burrs watches in horror, realizing that throwing such wild mana around will surely alert outsiders. Burrs quickly walks outside into the snowy mountains to check if the magical trace is detectable. A tense, cold silence hangs over the snowy cliffs as he prepares to inspect the boundary. Burrs is thoroughly stunned to find that no magical energy or tower outline can be detected. He realizes the massive strategic advantage if he can actively control the tower in this state. Channeling dark magic through his fingertips, Burzy tests his connection to the hidden fortress. A powerful magical shockwave ripples outward as the tower completely vanishes from the landscape. Quiet, empty snowfield stands in its place, leaving absolutely no trace of the grand structure. Spurring purple sparks of dark energy, Bress prepares to summon the hidden tower back. With a dramatic crackle of magical power, the massive black tower instantly materializes in the snow. Burrs notes that while he can hide the tower, doing so consumes vast amounts of magic points. Roger huffs and pants with heavy fanatical excitement over the magnificent result of his machine. Roger passionately begs to study the discovery, displaying an obsessive enthusiasm that Burzy compares to a demon. Mirza agrees to grant him freedom on the condition that he wipes out the invading heroes. As Roger celebrates, Burrs proposes that the blonde princess handle any heroes reaching the fourth floor. She proudly objects, reminding him of her status as a princess and genius spirit mage. Burrs strategically baits her pride, suggesting she is too weak and sheltered to betray her people. Easily manipulated, the princess eagerly begins planning her elemental traps, fully committing to the betrayal. Burrs instructs her to simply confuse their enemies, promising a reward if she succeeds. The blonde princess clasps her hands, requesting to be introduced as his subordinate rather than royalty. Burrs readily agrees, prompting a happy cheer of joy from the enthusiastic princess. The princess confidently tries posing with her charms, but Burzy flatly tells her to just follow orders. The colossal dark tower stands silent and imposing amidst the vast snow-covered mountain peaks. Walking through the deep snow, the blonde princess sighs with disappointment as their search yields nothing. Burrs grumbles about their bad luck, leaving the princess to ponder why the spirits are acting strangely. A blue-clawed hand slowly comes into view as Burrs stands with the blonde princess in the snowy field. A massive, blue-skinned orc with white braided hair and sharp fangs stares forward intensely. Annoyed by their sudden appearance, Burrs prepares a sphere of dark magic to destroy the invading orcs. A heavy, sudden stomp echoes as the massive orc bows his head deeply into the snow. Krutu, chieftain of the Blue Frost tribe, kneels to pledge his tribe's allegiance to the Demon King. A whole swarm of blue orcs suddenly drops to their knees, begging to become his loyal vassals. Burrs stares back in complete disbelief, utterly shocked by the orc's sudden request for submission. Krutu explains his transparency and orders a subordinate to bring a metallic chest forward. The chest clicks open, revealing 3 glowing lotus-like flowers radiating brilliant elemental energy. Admiring the rare flowers, Burrs is highly impressed by Krutu's intelligence and negotiating skills. The Blue Orc chieftain explains that his tribe values wisdom over raw physical strength to survive. Handing the chest to the blonde princess, Burrs asks if their lack of strength is why they seek him. A quiet nod follows as Krutu bows his head in silent confirmation of Burrs' words. A subtle, amused smile plays on Burrs' lips as he considers the orc's philosophy of wisdom. Amused by the offer, Burrs activates a glowing red magic circle to accept the chieftain as his vassal. With a sudden flash of red light, Burrs declares that only Krutu will be accepted. Engulfed in the dark pact, Krutu bows low and passionately swears his eternal loyalty to his new lord. With intense determination, Burrs vows to repay the humiliation of his past life when the heroes arrive. High above, the quiet winter breeze rustles through the snow-laden evergreen trees of the silent forest. Sir Hillen cheerfully tells Granada that they have finally arrived at their destination. A majestic view of the snow-covered Aegis Mountains looms high in the distant sky. A large expedition of knights, mages, and soldiers marches in a single-file line through the snow. A grand stone base of Hortonwork stands firmly established beneath the starry night sky. Inside the warm cathedral hall, a massive banquet is held as the expedition members feast merrily. Sir Hillen thanks the old noble for the feast, while the noble expresses honor in hosting them. Gesturing warmly, the elderly noble urges Sir Hillen to speak to the crowd to boost their morale. The old noble loudly announces that Sir Hillen will address the banquet hall. The surrounding knights and nobles smile with pride, turning their attention toward their brave leader. Sir Hillen pauses, modestly touching his chin as he prepares his speech. Standing before the crowded tables, Sir Hillen proudly announces that their long expedition is finally ending. It boasts that the Demon King was too terrified of their justice to send any monsters. Raising his wine glass high, he calls out the name of the kidnapped princess they came to rescue. Sir Hillen raises his voice in a passionate shout, rallying the spirits of his man. He raises a toast to justice, prompting an enthusiastic cheer from the entire banquet hall. Watching the cheering crowd, Granada reflects on how the hero party sizes remained unchanged. Granada recalls how Sir Hillen's reputation successfully gathered merchant backing and kept mercenaries from deserting. Overwhelmed by stress, Granada clutches his forehead and decides to slip away to send a report. Standing on a balcony, Granada reports their arrival to Burzy, who commands him to cut off all future contact. Through the magical hologram, Burrs advises him to watch out for the snow and stay alert at night. Burzy gives a final, bizarre warning about avoiding the tower door, leaving Granada utterly confused. Sir Hillen suddenly approaches from behind, startling the green-haired elf, who quickly hides his device. Sir Hillen kindly offers Granada a glass of elven fruit wine to ease his mind. Sir Hillen asks if Granada is worried about their chances of defeating the Demon King. A flashback shows Sir Hillen bravely commanding his comrades to escape while he fights alone. A monstrous skeletal frost giant with glowing red eyes roars menacingly in the snowy canyon. In the memory, Sir Hillen smiles smugly, claiming the giant is nothing compared to a demon king. With a mighty clash, Sir Hillen leaps down to strike the giant monster with full force. The giant frost monster retaliates, shattering a solid rock wall with a devastating blow. Facing the towering skeletal beast, Sir Hillen unleashes a brilliant wave of blue electric magic. Sparking with intense blue lightning, Sir Hillen charges forward to deliver a decisive blow. The brown-haired man's bright blue eye widens in desperation as he commands immediate action. Screaming frantically, the brown-haired leader commands his panicked forces to run while they still can. Amidst a massive explosion, the armored soldiers desperately urge their comrades to run while covering the retreat. A giant skeletal frost giant roars menacingly, enveloped in dark smoke and searing heat. Wotan reports a blocked path as Granada and Hillen recognize the magical signature of the Demon King's feral orc subordinates. The massive blue-skinned orc chieftain mockingly welcomes the foolish heroes to Regressed. Hillen confidently vows to eliminate the enemies, but Granada warns him to listen to an ominous approaching sound. There's a sudden warning to watch out for the snow flashes across the blue holographic screen. Sweating in panic, Granada suddenly realizes the terrifying true meaning behind the Demon King's warning. The blue-skinned orc chieftain fiercely declares that not a single hero will survive. With a sinister fanged grin, the dark-skinned figure vows that none of the heroes will reach the tower. Colossal avalanche triggers, sending a massive wall of snow roaring down the steep mountain slope. Terrified, Granada screams in frustration about how impossible it is to prepare for an avalanche. Granada frantically curses the crazy Demon King as the roaring avalanche consumes the expedition. Granada screams in absolute horror as the crushing weight of the snow sweeps over them. Sitting comfortably on his throne, Burzay observes the chaotic magical feeds of the screaming heroes. Smirking at his monitors, the dark-haired Demon King mockingly welcomes his old enemies once again. With a sharp-fanged grin, Burz declares that he will be the one hunting them this time. Burzay reflects on the 3 specific warnings he strategically delivered to his informant, Granea. A close-up of Burz's intense eye highlights his first directive to watch out for the snow. Digging themselves out, the panicked soldiers realize the orc-induced avalanche has scattered their forces beyond count. Hillen loudly orders the remaining expedition members to set up camp and search for their missing comrades. The second warning echoes as the blue orc chieftain prepares to lead monstrous forces through the dark. Giant skeletal monsters and ghouls attack the camp under the full moon, forcing the heroes to battle. Dodging the night raid, Granada curses the Demon King's relentless and frustrating tactical maneuvers. Burzy details his grueling strategy of day and night traps designed to break the hero's spirit. Exhausted from the non-stop onslaught, Hillen gasps heavily for breath amidst the freezing mountain air. Battered and defeated, Hillen despairs as their numbers dwindle to nearly half after 3 grueling days. Hillen screams in pure fury, questioning why the Demon King's tower is completely hidden from them. A critical update confirms that the frustrated hero expedition has finally decided to split up. Wotan bluntly informs a devastated Hillen that they have chosen to abandon the failed expedition. Stunned, Hillen desperately asks Wotan to explain what he means by giving up their crest. Wotan declares the expedition a total failure, prioritizing the survival of his remaining men over glory. Left alone, Hillen silently grits his teeth in a mixture of intense rage and bitter betrayal. A sudden shout echoes across the snowy peaks as someone finally spots the Demon King's fortress. Hillen curses, finding the tower hidden in a deep basin as his remaining forces depleted. Pushing open the massive metal gates, the remaining knights arrogantly prepare to raid the tower's first floor. A blinding array of giant dwarf mana cannons glows threateningly, ready to fire upon the intruding heroes. Realizing the deadly trap they walked into, Hillen freezes in absolute terror and disbelief. Dwarf mana cannons unleash a massive blinding torrent of blue energy down the narrow corridor. The system confidently declares that the massive magic blast will wipe out the intruders in one shot. Observing the magic monitors, Burz is amused to see that the powerful hero survived the blast. Leaning heavily on his sword, a battered Hillen gasps in horror at the absolute wreckage around him. Hillen screams in complete desperation, cursing the Demon King for the unfair and bizarre defenses of the tower. Granada runs to Hillen, confirming they avoided the blast, while Hillen expresses relief at their survival. Hillen insists on rushing to the next floor alone, leaving Granada worried about their dwindling numbers. Hillen boasts his superior strength, claiming his absorbed powers from a former Demon King make him unbeatable. Hillen flatters Granada, who nervously agrees to follow him deeper into the dark and quiet fortress. Arriving on the second floor, the 2 heroes find nothing but a massive empty hall. Hillen grows increasingly suspicious of the empty floors, warning Granada to prepare for whatever bizarre traps lie ahead. A title card announces the transition to the 4th floor of Burz's tower. Butterflies float peacefully across a bright blue sky filled with faint grid lines. Hillen stands completely baffled by the unexpectedly peaceful meadow before him. Hillen and Granada express surprise at finding a serene forest inside the Demon King's tower. Hillen flinches in shock as a mysterious figure steps forward and greets them. Princess Ernyan boldly declares her role as one of the Demon King's elite guardians. Granada watches in sheer disbelief as the princess continues her dramatic posing. Hillen is stunned by the princess's bizarre appearance, while Granada suggests making a quiet escape. Princess Ernyan furiously denies her royal status, insisting she is a dark spirit mage. Princess Ernyan unleashes a powerful multi-elemental magic storm directly toward the intruders. Hillen realizes the princess is using advanced magic that cannot be cast under mind control. Hillen recalls the grueling obstacles of their journey, from feral orcs to deadly avalanches. Hillen reflects on the relentless traps and bizarre challenges they faced in the tower. Burrs smirks, suggesting that removing Hillen's magical ring will strip him of his power. Hillen laughs maniacally, boasting that even a demon king cannot remove his powerful ring. A dark voice commands Gordon to strike. Hillen continues his arrogant laughing, completely unaware of the threat behind him. Hillen's maniacal laughter is cut short by a sudden wave of panic. Gordon silently appears behind Hillen and slices him, reprimanding him for being too noisy. A powerful slash wave rips through the tranquil Mao. A bloodied Hillen gasps in shock, struggling to understand how he was bypassed. A dark-gloved hand firmly grabs Hillen's shoulder from behind. Burrs looms menacingly behind a terrified Hillen, demanding to know where he is running. Hillen desperately realizes he must dodge the impending strike. An ominous gasp echoes against a dark, shadowy backdrop. Burrs unleashes a devastating burst of dark purple magic directly onto Hillen. A text overlay conveys Hillen's absolute dread regarding the Demon King's terrifying power. Burrs towers over a struggling Hillen, unleashing an oppressive wave of dark energy. Smirking, Burrs declares that he will end the hero with a single decisive blow. The glowing magical ring is forcefully stripped from Hillen's finger. Dust settles as Burrs stands victoriously over a defeated and bloodied Hillen. Burrs exhales deeply, feeling the immense physical toll of the brief confrontation. Standing over the fallen hero, Burrs commends Hillen for barely surviving the devastating blow. Burrs orders Gordon to imprison the defeated hero and the other survivors in the dungeon. Granada lies battered on the ground, mentally acknowledging the Demon King's overwhelming strength. Burrs rewards Granada's efforts by offering him a glowing red spirit herb. Granada stares blankly in shock, unable to comprehend the Demon King's unexpected generosity. Enveloped in green healing flames, Granada gasps as his injuries instantly begin to mend. Granada looks at his hands in disbelief, realizing his life force is completely restored. Granada is deeply moved while Burrs casually distributes precious spirit herbs to Princess Ernyan. Burrs communicates via hologram, granting an overjoyed dwarf permission to examine the tower. Burrs dismisses his subordinates, ordering everyone to clean up their respective floors. Princess Ernyan marvels at Burrs' seemingly endless stamina after such an intense battle. Granada looks on thoughtfully as they watch their master walk away. A faint warning prompts Burrs' gloved hand to collapse heavily onto the floor. Completely exhausted, Burrs collapses flat on his back, sighing in relief at his narrow victory. Burrs gasps for breath, acknowledging the terrifying strength of a 10-stars hero. A stellar constellation highlights the legendary elite heroes known as the 10 Stars. The narrative reveals that Hillen Cargill is actually the weakest among these elite heroes. Burrs admits that he would have lost if the hero had been in perfect condition. The narrator explains that his calculated strategies successfully exhausted the brown-haired hero. The constant, exhausting traps succeeded in severely agitating and breaking the proud hero's composure. The relentless psychological pressure completely flustered the sweating, wide-eyed, brown-haired hero. His mental defense shattered, the defeated hero hangs his head silently before his worried men. A narration bubble explains that the extreme stress caused Hillen Cargill's strategic vision to narrow. Driven into a state of blind panic and fury, the desperate hero finally exposed a critical opening. Seizing the perfect opportunity, the grinning horned Demon King unleashes a devastating full-power strike. A final magic bubble confirms that the powerful strike succeeded in neutralizing the target. Lying on the floor, the dark-haired Demon King proudly celebrates achieving his first total victory without using the playbook. Sitting up, the victorious Demon King triumphantly notes his new power to actively change and defy fate. With a fierce, resolute gaze, Burrs declares his absolute confidence in his ability to change the future. Sporting a sharp-fanged grin, the Demon King confidently vows to finally exact his long-awaited revenge. A narration bubble explains that the desperate heroes gave up because they could not locate the tower. The Grey Wolf monster furiously curses the pathetic heroes for failing despite his calculated magic rumors. A subordinate informs the shocked Grey Wolf monster that Wat and Kolo abandoned the quest and declared the tower non-existent. Sweating in disbelief, the wolf monster realizes the new Demon King completely ignored the established playbook. The gray-haired knight tells his audience that this new Demon King is entirely unlike any predecessor. In a crowded press room, anxious reporters press the knight about the expedition's apparent failure and investor concerns. Frantic journalists demand immediate accountability and ask who will bear responsibility for the massive failure. Holding a blue magic communication crystal, the gray-haired representative desperately insists the mission is still active. News of the expedition's shocking failure and setback spreads rapidly across the entire continent. An enraged king threatens execution over his missing princess, while a red-haired girl screams to find Roger. In the bustling city streets, citizens anxiously gossip as exaggerated rumors of Hillen's death begin to spread. Blue interface confirms that the continent's rising fear has rapidly accumulated 290,000 magic points for Barris. A glowing orb shines beneath a grand golden crest as a high-level magical meeting commences. Standing before glowing blue holographic silhouettes, the gray-haired knight is assured his report contains no lies. The gray-haired knight confidently stakes his name and honor on the absolute truth of his testimony. The shadowy silhouettes of the council agree the matter is grave and urge caution regarding the Demon King. A glowing-eyed silhouette reminds the council that Hillen Cargill is a formidable 10-stars hero who would not fall easily. The Dark Leader decrees a 10-day waiting period before launching a massive continental assault with thousands of heroes. A silent, vast assembly of armed heroes prepares to mobilize for a total assault on the Demon King. The narrative transitions to the dark, torch-lit stone corridors of the underground prison within Burzey's tower. Burzey approaches a heavily chained Hillen inside a cell, mockingly greeting him upon his swift awakening. Glaring with intense hostility, the chained Hillen demands that the Demon King immediately state his demands. The dark-haired Demon King smirks, pleased that they can communicate directly without wasting any time. The Demon King delivers a shocking and direct command, telling the defeated hero to become his vassal. Hillen stares in absolute sweating bewilderment, wondering if he has completely misheard the bizarre proposal. Burzey points out the immense financial burdens of organizing a massive hero expedition, listing the exorbitant costs. Burzey details how failure leaves the leading hero buried under astronomical debt to wealthy noble investors. The Demon King leans in close, intensifying his psychological torment regarding the expedition's massive liabilities. Burzey reveals that the absolute entirety of the expedition's debt was concentrated on just one individual. Looking down at the sweating hero, Burz drives his point home by naming Hillen Cargill as that sole debtor. Realizing his ruined reputation and unavoidable lifelong debt, a horrified Hillen asks how Burzey discovered the secret. The green-haired Granada suddenly steps forward from the shadows, calmly revealing that she was the informant. Hillen furiously screams at Granada for her betrayal, but she proudly retorts that she was always on the Demon King's side. Burzey displays a glowing purple artifact called Armani's Orb, questioning if humans could ever win with an inside saboteur. A glowing brain graphic details how the expensive magical tool attaches to the brain to monitor and detonate disloyal subordinates. Burzey gestures to other unconscious heroes, coldly warning Hillen that rejecting the offer will result in instant death. Terrified, Hillen desperately screams that his superior strength grants him immunity to mind control magic. A harsh, jagged speech bubble forcefully cuts off the screaming hero, telling him he has no right to talk. Hillen desperately refuses to submit, claiming Burzey is wasting a precious magical tool. Burz smiles wickedly as he forcefully crams the glowing artifact down the hero's throat. A heavy gulp sounds as Hillen is forced to swallow the powerful orb in terror. The dark-skinned secretary expresses concern over Hillen's resolve, but Burzey dismisses his worries. The dark narrative notes Hillen's greed makes him susceptible to manipulation for money. A system window confirms that Hillen Cargill has successfully equipped Armani's Orb. The dark-skinned secretary warns that Hillen's massive debt of 100,000 gold limits his usefulness. The secretary questions how they will gather a budget equivalent to a small nation's treasury. The secretary gasps in shock as Burz's sinister grin hints at an outrageous plan. Burzey reflects on Tower's Harmony, the annual gathering of demon kings he previously avoided. Burz greedily plans to exploit the immense fortunes accumulated by the other demon kings. Convinced of his lord's genius, the secretary announces that an invitation to the gathering has arrived. A dark, sharp-fanged grin spreads across the demon king's face as his scheme begins. A massive cyclopean titan named Ugar Belbek mockingly announces Burz's arrival at the council table. Burzey openly insults the gathering, questioning if they feel any shame as demon kings. Burzey internally acknowledges the survival logic of the meeting while continuing his deliberate provocation. Ugar roars in fury at the rookie's arrogance, completely falling for Burz's psychological trap. Ugar threatens immediate death, but the confident top graduate mockingly dares him to try. A sudden sharp clap rings out, immediately drawing everyone's attention in the room. Whoosh! A powerful magical force instantly neutralizes the hostile tension between the two rivals. The elegant, gray-haired demon king politely steps in, urging them not to ruin the gathering. Burzey is deeply intrigued by the gray-haired host's mysterious ability to neutralize their killing intent. Ugar relents, while Burzey silently analyzes whether the mediator utilized the power of the tower. The host formally opens the discussion, though Burz remains unimpressed by the simple gathering. The massive wolf demon king Draxon stands up to question Burz directly about the hero. Draxon aggressively demands to know the exact location of the missing hero, Hillen Cargill. Burzey remains completely silent, calmly sizing up his opponent beneath the wolf's intense glare. Taking a quiet breath, the dark-haired demon king prepares to deliver his calculated response. A heavy silence fills the chamber as Burz begins to deliver his explanation. Meanwhile, the lieutenants of the Beast Demon King and Demon King of Lies listen closely. In the reception room, the secretary nervously lies, claiming Hillen is lost in the mountains. The visiting lieutenants express extreme skepticism about Burz's tower being hidden from the heroes. The dark-skinned secretary quietly marvels at how perfectly his lord predicted the lieutenants' reactions. Burze had previously instructed his secretary to maintain absolute secrecy regarding Hillen's role as a spy. Although the secretary knows his master is correct, he struggles with a strange internal stress. He grapples with the intense pressure of keeping his master's grand secrets bottled up. The secretary suddenly screams in absolute relief, releasing all of his pent-up anxiety. The other lieutenants look on in stunned bewilderment, pitying the stressful life of Burze's vassal. Calming down instantly, the dark-skinned secretary blankly processes their unexpectedly sympathetic reactions. Draxen aggressively demands if Burze expects them to believe such an absurd story. The furious wolf monster accuses Burze of lying, but Burze indifferently defends his building choices. The host politely points out the massive risk of Burze leaving his tower completely undefended. The gray-haired host condescendingly reminds the historic top graduate of the tragic fate of towerless kings. Burze boldly dismisses the warning, confidently stating he will protect his tower on his own. Burze glares silently, deeply irritated by the smug, patronizing attitude of the Demon King of Lies. The host backs down with a jovial laugh, promising not to press the issue further. When Draxen invokes a Grand Duke's authority, Burze's blatant disrespect forces the Wook to back down. Burze internally notes his bluff is perfectly safe from verification, keeping his secrets hidden. Looking out over the council, Burze focuses strictly on his goal to obtain the gold. Shifting to the sidelines, Burze silently scans the room for Demon Kings desperate for magic points. Pale reflects on the high ranking of the Demon King of Lies as he stands near the Ice Queen and the Giant Beast. The pale blue-haired Queen Reyna turns her head slightly back with a cool expression. Close-up of Pale's surprised face shows him sweating under his black horns. The scene shifts to the exterior of the Tower of Lies, focusing on the high balcony of the 13th floor. Reyna stands at the balcony and explains to the approaching Pale that she simply wished to speak with him in private. The ice-crowned Queen Reyna calmly expresses her partial agreement with Pale's perspective. Pale sweats nervously, wondering if Reyna had ever said such a thing to him in his previous life. Reyna clarifies that she actually supports the playbook and does not despise it like Pale does. From an overhead angle, Reyna explains that she wanted to meet Pale because speaking with him is better than conversing with fools. Pale asks Reyna for her first impression, and she admits it is decent and that his appearance exceeded her expectations. Reyna hands Pale a glowing blue communication crystal, offering her advice on the condition that he does not insult the playbook. As Reyna begins to walk away, Pale dryly suggests she converse with the Demon King of Lies instead. Reyna pauses, admitting that the Demon King of Lies is far too opaque to understand, unlike Pale. The Ice Queen walks back inside the tower, leaving Pale to watch her departure. The scene shifts to a wide, snow-covered landscape showing the imposing dark structure of Burze's tower. Inside the tower, the blonde-haired Princess Lavinia cheerfully offers her freshly baked cookies to a bewildered Sir Roger. The dark-haired dwarf Sir Roger eats a cookie, sweating in pure delight over how delicious they taste. Lavinia reveals she added a rare spirit herb to the cookies, shocking Sir Roger, who finally understands why his mana feels so overflowing. Lavinia smilingly explains she made them as a friendly gift, since they will be working together for a long time. Lavinia eagerly asks if Lady Granada will enjoy the cookies, and Sir Roger confirms Granada will love them even more. A close-up of the light blonde-haired princess shows her smiling brightly in pure happiness. Pale walks into the spacious, empty hall, wondering if the other Demon Kings have already departed. An overhead view of the grand table reveals that only the white-haired Demon King of Lies remains seated. The white-haired Demon King Jason politely offers to have tea together if Pale desires more company. A close-up shows Jason's gloved hands tightly clasped as he prepares to make a critical statement. In pitch-dark surroundings, a menacing voice asks Pale if he is currently in need of something. Jason smiles deviously, revealing that he knows Pale is in desperate need of human currency. A close-up of Pale's single widened eye captures his sudden shock at Jason's words. His eyes glowing a menacing red, Pale furiously demands to know where Jason leaked this secret information from. Jason maintains his sinister smile, repeating his assertion about Pale's need for human money. Jason advises Pale to stop playing games, claiming that Lord Draxen had already informed him of this secret. A close-up of Jason shows him confidently stating that the deceased Draxen was the source of this intelligence. Presenting massive chest piles of gold coins, Jason proposes a straightforward trade of magic points for human money. Pale stares intensely and seriously as he processes the unexpected proposal from the Demon King. Jason laughs cheerfully, assuring Pale that he is on his side and hopes they can get along. Scene shifts to Burze's tower floor, filled with countless brown bags stuffed with gold coins. Pale tells Hillen to take 100,000 gold, warning him to ensure the funds cannot be traced. Pale envisions Jason pulling his strings like a helpless puppet if the flow of funds is ever traced. Pale realizes that a single mistake could result in him becoming Jason's literal puppet. Close-up of Pale's eye highlights his resolve to be extremely cautious around the scheming Demon King of Lies. Pale instructs Hillen to utilize the captured prisoners to safely circulate and launder the massive funds. The captured Dark Knights look humiliated, desperately hoping that Sir Hillen will rescue them from their forced demon contract. A close-up of Hillen shows him content with paying off his debts and resuming his hero activities. Hillen proudly holds out his hand to Pale, declaring that they should work together as business partners. Pale looks extremely annoyed as dark magical energy surges menacingly around his hand. Pale triggers a painful and bright magical shock directly into the warrior's brain. Hillen screams in agony on the floor as Pale coldly reminds him they are master and slave, not business partners. Princess Lavinia enters the room and calls out to a bruised and exhausted Hillen. Lavinia holds out a purple letter, politely asking Hillen to deliver it to her younger sister Elena. Lavinia apologizes, explaining she has no intention of returning home yet and trusts that a hero of his caliber can handle it. Impressed by his master's deep study of humans, the dark-skinned secretary resolves to take action. Burzay gloats over his scheme of having a hero-turned-vassal destroy human society from within, while his secretary eagerly agrees. Burzay and his secretary turn in surprise as a sudden knock interrupts their conversation. The door peeks open as a blonde girl offers them freshly baked cookies, accompanied by her floating fire and water spirits. Burz sternly warns her that she has been visiting too casually, threatening dungeon imprisonment if the cookies taste bad. Confident in her baking, the blonde girl eagerly urges the sitting Demon King to take a bite. A sharp crunch sounds as Burzy skeptically bites into the human dessert. His eyes widen in absolute astonishment as the unexpected flavor completely catches him off guard. Celebrating her success, the blonde girl rejoices at having successfully provoked a reaction from the Demon King. A heavy crack sounds as Burz's grip fiercely tightens, crushing the stone armrest of his throne. Sweat pouring down his face, Beret grudgingly admits that the cookie is not bad for a human creation. Burza is left sweating in absolute disbelief, wondering if she actually discarded such a powerful ingredient. Burze realizes she used rare spirit herbs in the recipe, which the cheerful girl proudly confirms. Burze sighs, realizing she is returning his reward in this form because she has another request in mind. High up in the snowy mountains, a massive blue-skinned monster leads a troop of soldiers forward. Upon arriving at Horton Work, the expedition quickly departs for Hilderan using a magical teleportation circle. Meanwhile, the sheen shifts to a large wooden frame building where Granada's next move unfolds. Within the Red Hawk mercenary group headquarters, harsh discipline is brutally enforced upon kneeling subordinates. The furious green-haired elf captain demands to know why his men abandoned him and fled during the avalanche. Crying in terror, the beaten mercenary desperately explains they had no choice but to run to survive. The captain swings his powered fist down in rage, while a nearby voice calls out to Lady Granada. The green-haired elf captain turns around in confusion, responding to the sudden call. A female knight named Kaede introduces herself as a hero who was unable to join the expedition. Sitting together, Kaede gasps in shock as the captain explains that the Demon King's tower was never at the summit. Deciding there is no reason to stay, Cade thanks him and leaves a few gold coins on the table as gratitude. A metallic clanking sounds as the green-haired captain silently watches the armored hero walk out. The mercenaries mockingly dismiss the blonde knight as a naive novice destined to be backstabbed. Clad in full-plate armor, Kaede walks down the quiet city streets, deep in thought. The green-haired captain notices a patrol of heavily armored knights marching silently outside. The captain narrows his eyes suspiciously, sensing something off about the passing guards. The elite guards surround Kaede, demanding her return to her betrothed, but she fiercely refuses. Activating his facial interference mask, the captain watches in shock after realizing the naive hero is actually a runaway princess. The captain suddenly tenses and whips his head around as he senses danger approaching. A cold, sharp blade suddenly shinks against his throat, catching him completely off guard. The guard demands to know his identity, questioning why he was spying and using stealth magic. Terrified, the captain worries that getting captured will expose his secret role as the Demon King's vassal. Mistaking him for an enemy kingdom spy, the guard coldly declares that they cannot let him live. Fearing for his life, the captain desperately calls out to his lord in his mind for guidance. The captain quickly ducks as a guard leaps down with a blazing sword, triggering cries of an assassination attempt. The guards quickly draw their weapons, urging the princess to stand back as they prepare for battle. Wotton hesitates to use his elven magic because it would immediately expose his identity, while the princess insists on fighting alongside her guards. The scene abruptly shifts back to Burze, who dryly comments on how his vassal has been wasting time. Back in the tower, Burze sits on his throne and calmly asks the blonde girl what her true request is. She directly requests senile powder, which Burze recognizes as a crucial substance used for forming spirit contracts. A solemn flashback reveals an ancient king on high stairs delivering a crucial decree to a kneeling elf servant. The king ordered the creation of a specialized alchemical aid to help humans contract with spirits more easily. This divine alchemical research ultimately led to the creation of the rare senile powder. When Burzee points out her talent should make the powder unnecessary, she dramatically coughs, claiming the tower's low mana weakens her spirits. Burz immediately sees through her dramatic act, correctly guessing she plans to form a contract with a new, high-ranking spirit. This ambitious goal recalls her past life, where contracting a legendary high-ranking spirit at a young age shocked the entire continent. Burzee asks Ernyan why she wants to make her contract 7 years earlier than expected, to which she replies she wanted to surprise him, prompting him to wonder if living in his tower has altered her thinking. Burz takes a cookie from the tray, noting that he does not mind her actions as long as they ultimately strengthen his tower. Ernyan politely bids him farewell, thanking him for the food as she departs. Charging his dark energy, Burz confidently states he has his own business to handle and promises to finish it quickly. Kaede's eyes widen in absolute shock as the Demon King suddenly confronts her. Burz looks back coldly, sizing up the young blonde hero standing in his path. An ominous narrator notes that despite her youth, a hero is still a dangerous enemy. Elite guards cry out in warning to Kaede as she stands ready, her body enveloped in a glowing green aura. Kaede declares that a hero's aura is meant to destroy Demon Kings, asserting that her true place belongs on the battlefield rather than a stuffy palace. She unleashes her ultimate technique, the crescent slash of the Jespine royal fencing style, cutting through the air. In a brief flashback, she bitterly recalls her outrage of being forced to marry a repulsive old man. To escape her arranged marriage, she begged the Imperial instructor and trained tirelessly until she bled, determined to be recognized as a hero. Confronting the Flying Demon King, she believes that defeating him here will finally prove her worth as a proper hero. Kaede fiercely resolves to choose her own husband with her own hands. A sharp crack sounds as Burz's gloved hand effortlessly shatters her magical attack. A loud crash echoes as Burzee smiles, indifferently commenting that her sword stroke was not bad as her blade shatters. Kaede is left sweating in sheer disbelief as her strongest attack is easily destroyed. An ominous voice wonders if a mere hero can survive the devastating counterattack that follows. Smirking evilly, Burz mutters that a princess who is also a hero will prove incredibly useful for his plans in many ways. Kaede looks on in absolute terror, desperately begging him to wait. Her armored guards yell in panic, desperately warning her of the extreme danger. A massive crimson explosion suddenly erupts, tearing through the buildings of the town square with a deafening blast. Panicked citizens shout about a sudden demon attack on Horton Work as smoke fills the ruined square. Survivors look at the devastation in horror, realizing that the Demon King himself was actually present. A desperate voice pleads with an injured soldier to stay conscious and not close his eyes. As dark smoke billows over the city, witnesses note the black flames and wonder if the Demon King of Urgesty is behind the attack. Meanwhile, Burz's massive dark tower stands silent and imposing amidst the snow-covered mountains. Deep inside the underground prison, Kaede lies unconscious and defeated on the cold straw floor. Ernyan asks if her name is Seniel, while Burzee corrects her, explaining that she is actually Kaede Jespine, the 9th Imperial Princess. Burz instructs Ernyan to heal Kaede so they can make her useful, casually mentioning he simply picked her up while passing by. Burzee explains that periodically kidnapping lower-ranked royalty is his method for steadily gathering magic points. Burz's eyes widen in horror as he realizes he just blurted out his secret plans aloud to his captive. Far away, a human commander addresses a council of projected silhouettes, arguing that a strong Demon King would never hide his tower. The council members agree that hiding goes against a Demon King's playbook, dismissing him as a weak coward who poses little threat. Another silhouette agrees, firmly believing that this hidden Demon King is likely weak. The silent silhouette of the spy Hillencargo remains completely quiet during the council's arrogant discussion. Relying on Hillencargo's advice, the commander decides to postpone the planned all-out hero assault. A system message confirms they will delay the assault until they can locate the hidden tower. Walking away, Hillencargo wonders if blocking the expedition at the source is exactly what his master wanted. The spy breathes a sigh of relief, hoping his master can make good use of the time he bought. Back at the tower, Burz receives a magical transmission from his dark-skinned secretary ordering him to keep a close watch. Sighing in relief, Burz notes they would have been in real trouble without Cargill, confirming making him a vassal was the right call. Burz notes that with Hillencargo and Granada working outside, he can successfully delay any hero expeditions before they start. Reflecting on his captive princess, Burzee plans to farm more magic points and use her as a powerful vanguard. He notes that Graun the Dwarf is sturdily remodeling the first floor while Crew 2 actively expands his forces. Burz reflects that once Ernyan completes her contract with a high-ranking spirit, their tower's defenses will be truly complete. Grinning darkly, Burzee resolves that securing his tower is crucial before unleashing his true revenge on the heroes who once killed him. To fulfill his plans, he knows he must first obtain the rare Seniel powder from a distant location. Burz looks out at Amor, a magnificent magic engineering city, heavily guarded by powerful mages and heroes. Burzee sweats nervously, admitting that stealing the powder without getting caught carries an extremely high difficulty. Grand Magi engineering city of Amor rises majestically under a clear blue sky. On the outskirts of the market stands a shabby shop named Jettison's Wonderland. Reading a newspaper, the shopkeeper laments the kidnapping of the princess and a hero being wanted. A cheerful chime rings out as the front door of the shop swings open. As a hub of magic engineering, Amor gathers heroes, alchemists, and powerful mages. To avoid detection by mages, Burzy intentionally seeks out secluded, low-profile shops. Burz questions the purple liquid, which the merchant enthusiastically explains is newly developed senio powder. The shopkeeper whispers that the top-secret potion is an incredibly rare, unreleased item. The shopkeeper welcomes them while the new arrivals complain about the shop's shabby appearance. The dwarf addresses the shopkeeper, stating they are looking for a specific person. The merchant tries to hustle them, claiming his memory fails unless he makes a sale. Furious at being extorted, the armored girl draws her blade and fiercely threatens the merchant. Sweating in terror, the shopkeeper desperately begs her to buy something before threatening him. The shopkeeper nervously bargains, asking for a purchase to accept her blade more happily. The armored girl pauses, her companions watching in silent disbelief at the merchant's sheer audacity. Amused by his desperate plea, the girl laughs heartily and agrees to see his wares. The merchant quickly rebrands the fake Senel powder as Archa powder for 3 gold coins. The merchant directs them to a famous blacksmith shop in the central plaza called Deer's Leaf. Burzy silently walks away, muttering in disgust at the scam he just witnessed. The armored girl and her dwarven companion depart from the shop to seek the blacksmith. Burzy dryly compliments the merchant's nerve, who playfully thanks him for keeping quiet. Burzy begins to smile slyly as he reveals the true identity of the scammed customer. The bottle shatters as Burzy identifies the dangerous customer as Louise Burkhoft. Trembling in sheer terror, the shopkeeper panics upon hearing the name of the terrifying princess. Desperate, the shopkeeper prays frantically, begging to be spared from her wrath. The merchant's submissive facade suddenly drops as his true, sinister intentions are hinted at. With a menacing grin, the shopkeeper's terrified act instantly morphs into malicious confidence. Angrily dares Burzy to bring the princess, refusing to believe she would visit. Agreeing with the merchant's logic, Burzy calmly turns around and walks out the door. Fire erupts as the terrifying silhouette of Princess Louise looms menacingly over the merchant. The shopkeeper's expression freezes in absolute shock as he realizes his fatal mistake. From inside, the shopkeeper's polite but strained farewell echoes as Burzy walks away. Burzy examines a genuine green bottle of senile powder, satisfied with his stealthy purchase. Louise suddenly catches up to Burzy, surprising him as he prepares to leave. Louise thanks Burzy for helping get a refund, prompting him to ask about the merchant. Louise furiously wishes she had ripped his heart out instead of just roughing him out. Burzy's sweat drops silently, noting that the princess is just as temperamental as ever. Burzy's eyes widen as he suddenly registers her mention of a heart. Louise asks Burzy to bear with her as she prepares for her next move. Louise offers him a rare Dwarf Kingdom equipment token, which Burzy gladly accepts. Louise tells her companion she plans to contact her father to request reinforcements. Louise grins maniacally, fiercely resolving not to let the wanted hero Roger escape. Burzy recalls how Draxon once absorbed a divine beast's heart to gain overwhelming power. Fighting Louise, fully armed, would result in a narrow victory or draw for Burzy. He ponders the strength required to survive this dimension and enact his ultimate revenge. Burzy realizes that he must ultimately focus on significantly strengthening his own power. Burzy decides to manipulate Louise into traveling to the Beast Tower Enormous. He plans to let them tear into each other to create an opening. The grand prize of the divine beast's heart floats into his calculated plus. Holding a visualization of the burning heart, Burzy fiercely claims it will be his. Ernian excitedly asks if the potion came from the Akan Kingdom, which her dark-skinned elven colleague probably confirms. A squeak sounds as the cell door swings open, framing Princess Kaede sitting quietly inside. The Demon King orders her to be trained in swordsmanship to test her strength upon his return. A loud clang echoes as Kaede fiercely vows revenge while clashing blades with her elven instructor. With a quick click, the Demon King ends his magical communication with his loyal elven subordinate. A swift whoosh sounds as Burzy runs through the town, satisfied with his tower's remote management. A sudden beep signals Hill and Cargill's timely holographic projection, prompting Burzy to ask for his report. The Golden Moon Merchant Guild's crest glows, confirming the successful takeover under the new leadership. Amon, the Black Knight, officially takes over the Merchant Guild's operations alongside the Black Mage. Hill and Cargill walks while explaining how his backing easily secured the Guildmaster position for the sum. A soft chime rings as Burzy enters a room preparing to relay his next orders to Granada. Burzy commands a surprised Cargill to fund the purchase of every elf slave across the entire continent. Grimly grinning, Burzy orders Cargill to employ the terrified con artist Jettison, who trembles in utter silence. Burzy reveals that Jettison is the foolish con artist who dared to scam Princess Louise. Dark plans are laid bare as the threat of tracking down all personal information looms ominously. Burzy details his plan to send assassins to erase Jettison, leaving the shopkeeper weeping in terror. The bell chimes in the empty shop, marking the stealthy departure of the terrifying visitors. With a sudden flash behind the counter, a mysterious presence prepares to make its move. The shocking news of buying all the elfin people echoes loudly over the grand city skyline. At the training grounds, the green-haired elf Granada promises to gather his people as fast as possible. While saving his people is good news, Granada dreads bringing them into the Demon King's grasp. Granada angrily wonders if the Demon King intentionally assigned this mission to use his people as spies. Trainees express confusion about why they are suddenly being forced to learn traditional elf swordsmanship. The bearded trainee grumbles about obeying orders from an old fossil who constantly brags about his age. Noticing Granada is distracted, the trainees whisper about running away and following him if he leads. Granada struggles in conflict as his former comrades quietly sneak away from the training field behind him. Granada silently reflects on the misery of spending their entire lives suffering as human slaves. He grimly considers the alternative of simply dying a slave's death under human rule. Drawing his glowing blade, Granada fiercely resolves that serving under the Demon King is far better. The scene shifts to Ormuth, a lush rainforest kingdom housing an ancient stone temple. Princess Louise of the Dwarf Kingdom gazes determinedly toward the imposing peaks of Beast Mountain. Her dwarven guard panics over the Beast Demon King's territory, but Louise confidently dismisses his fears. Grinning maniacally, Louise boasts that harming a dwarf royal would ignite a war with every nation. A burning tower recalls a past subjugation, proving that enemies would not dare act rashly against them. Louise fiercely orders her hesitant guards forward, threatening to chop off their heads if they refuse. An urgent warning echoes outside the massive green stone tower of the Beast Demon King. The wolf-like Beast Demon King reacts in shock as his cat-eared subordinate reports the dwarf princess's approach. The werewolf king sweat drops in rising panic, wondering if she knows about the summoning beast's heart. He tries to reassure himself, noting that the volcanic area's security should be extremely tight. Deep within the volcano, the glowing red heart contains pure mana power to command the strongest army. Sweat dripping down her face, the feline secretary hesitantly warns that his plan might be difficult. A towering native warrior looms over Princess Louise, coldly asking if she is looking to die. The giant warrior warns that entering the Demon King's territory without permission is strictly forbidden. Princess Louise barks back angrily, refusing to let the giant warrior push her around. Louise furiously demands he get out of the way, refusing to leave without finding Roger. Historical narration explains how Jesbane utilized their immense wealth as fuel to expand into an empire. A guard warns of repeating history if she dies at the hands of the Demon King's forces. A close-up of Louise's furious red eye captures her frustration as she mutters a curse. The giant warrior orders his men to attack while the panicked werewolf king fears a massive war. The werewolf king desperately commands his wolf beasts to stop the conflict and save the princess. A sudden loud screech of birds echoes as a flock frantically escapes into the sky. Soldiers are brutally pierced by incoming spears as a chaotic battle erupts in the jungle. Behind defensive shields, her worried dwarf companion urges Princess Louise to escape the unfavorable terrain, but she fiercely resolves to fight. Princess Louise grimly glares from behind the shield wall, preparing her counterattack. Demonic energy suddenly surges through the battlefield, shocking those nearby with its dark presence. The Crown Prince of Ormuth senses the dark demonic energy and wonders if the Beast Demon King's forces have already arrived. Standing amidst the tree branches, the mysterious intruder reflects on the unexpected battle and complicated human politics. Realizing the true threat, both the Prince of Ormuth and Princess Louise react in utter shock. Wearing a face recognition interfering mask, the grinning assassin tells the Prince of Ormuth that he must die. The Prince of Ormuth screams in agony as he is suddenly attacked by the masked assassin. Infuriated by the sudden attack on the prince, Princess Louise charges forward with her burning weapon. Princess Louise roars in absolute fury, refusing to let the enemy strike right in front of her. The Crown Prince of Ormuth is shocked by the dwarf princess's incredible speed and realizes he must deal with her first. Purple demonic energy wraps around the Prince of Ormuth, catching him completely off guard. The bound Prince of Ormuth grinds his teeth in disbelief, shocked by how easily she restrained him with demonic energy. A powerful orange clash of blades slices through the air with immense force. Princess Louise unleashes a devastating fiery attack as she screams for her dwarf guards to push forward. With the battlefield covered in blood, the attackers wonder where the demon tribes went as their energy suddenly vanishes. Angered by the attack on their prince, the native warriors of Ormuth surround Princess Louise and demand her death. Surrounded by enemies, Princess Louise fiercely snaps back that they were the ones who attacked her first. The dwarven crossbowmen form a protective barrier, firing their weapons to defend Princess Louise from the incoming warriors. Watching from high above, Burzing notes that Princess Louise is not going to die as easily as expected. Smiling slyly, Burz decides it is time to make his move and let his targets take the beat. Burze recalls how Draxon acquired insane regenerative abilities after absorbing the mythical beast's heart in the past. He wonders exactly which legendary beast's heart Draxon had managed to absorb during their previous life. The truth dawns upon him as he visualizes Draxon finding the corpse of a mythical phoenix. A brilliant, burning phoenix appears, confirming the source of the overwhelming power. Berger remembers reading records about the existence of phoenixes across multiple dimensions during his time as a cadet. The records explain that while their powers varied, all phoenixes shared one key trait. Every demon king who successfully absorbed a phoenix became strong enough to carve their name into history. Berger silently thanks Draxen, realizing he succeeded in reaching this point because of Draxen's action in their past life. The furious Wolf Beast King demands to know who discovered the secret of his phoenix, suspecting Burzy. He dismisses the idea of a rookie demon king knowing his secrets, confident in his volcanic fortress's tight security. Two bear guards outside a dark cave are startled by the sudden arrival of the Wolf Beast King. The Wolf Beast King brutally sweeps past the guards, sending them flying with a single strike. Stomping his clawed foot, the enraged Beast King vows to eliminate the last remaining intruder. Entering his volcanic domain, the Beast King is greeted by a subordinate as he demands an immediate report. The bear subordinate nervously reports that Brother Tiger suddenly jumped directly into the burning lava, shocking his king. The scene shifts to a close-up of a young man with vibrant red hair pondering a strange feeling. The shirtless, red-haired man wonders why wild animals are clinging to him before telling them to get lost. He turns his back, deeply troubled by a bizarre sensation that makes him feel like a completely different person. Looking into the water, he gasps in shock upon seeing his previous black-haired reflection staring back at him. The reflection is replaced by leafy branches as a voice screams out in utter confusion. Back in his palace, the Weeping King of Ormouth orders his forces to prepare a hero expedition to slay the Beast Demon King. Sunlight filters through a tranquil lush forest canopy, hinting at the quiet before the storm. Villain Cargill appears on a holographic projection with a report, but stops in confusion, asking who he is speaking to. The red-haired master commands Cargill to ignore his changed appearance, prompting Cargill to report that a hero expedition is being planned. A system window reveals that the planned expedition's leader is Rosal Churnt, a renowned 10-star hero. A massive fiery magic circle glows intensely, preparing to unleash devastating flame magic. Rosal Churnt stands proudly as a top-class battle mage who specializes in devastating fire magic. Narrative text details that physical powerhouse Valav Disrod is the vice captain of the expedition to subjugate the Beast Demon King. The text panel reveals that after assembling in Ormouth, the expedition plans to attack the Beast Tower immediately. The red-haired Burzy contemplates in confusion why humans wouldn't desire a Demon King's death. Burzy doubts whether absorbing 2 Demon Kings would be enough for anyone to stand against him. Deciding to head back, Burzy answers a sudden communication transmission from his subordinate Gordon. Gordon is shocked by his master's changed appearance, but Burzy dryly orders him to report. Ignoring Gordon's questions about his looks, Burzy learns that the Beast Tower has issued an urgent summons. Burzy reacts with extreme shock and suspicion upon hearing that Draxen sent the summons. Before the towering stone gates of the Beast Tower, the Werewolf King Draxen waits alongside his guards. The massive Cyclops demon questions Draxen while the blue-dressed Elf Queen complains about the stinking swamp atmosphere. Draxen instructs the arriving Demon Kings to wait inside while he retrieves the last attendee. The disgruntled Elf Queen reluctantly complies, walking inside the dark temple alongside her companion. Draxen angrily notes that Burzy and Jason Cockmundo are late, wondering if they are delaying on purpose. Draxen grimly warns that if Burzy arrives late, he will be considered a prime suspect. Suddenly pinned down by dark skeletal hens, Burzy realizes he was too complacent as time runs out. Gordon's projection suggests that since his master is currently in Ormouth, he can teleport to the tower alone. Flying through the air under a rapid drag, Burzy refutes Gordon, stating he is already traveling there. Burzy worries about looking suspicious if he arrives late or walks on foot without a portal. He calculates that he must return to his tower first and use the portal with Gordon. An intense purple demonic energy surges violently around a dark pulsating heart. Swoosh! Giant glowing orange phoenix wings burst from Burzy back as he takes flight. Burzy is shocked by the sudden manifestation of the phoenix wings before he even channeled mana. Crackle! A sudden bright surge reveals a living, flaming phoenix silhouette pulsing inside the glowing heart. To his utter shock, a small living phoenix emerges from his chest, flapping its wings. Looking down, Burzy finally understands why the wild forest animals were drawn to him earlier. A brilliant streak of golden light flashes across the blue sky with unbelievable velocity. Fiery orange feathers scatter in the wind, tracing his incredibly rapid flight path. Golden feathers drift gently through the clouds as the intense light beams down from above. A desperate plea to wait echoes as the blinding white energy continues to swell. Gritting his teeth in extreme strain, Burzy struggles to endure the terrifyingly fast speed. Boom! A massive beam of golden light crashes violently down onto the dark, snowy fortress. The defensive energy shield of the Red Tower ripples under the force of the sudden collision. Smoke billows from the mountain fortress where Burzy lies face down in the snow after crashing. Rubbing his head, Burzy realizes he cannot control the phoenix yet and must proceed carefully. Walking toward the gates with massive fiery black wings, Burzy asks Gordon if preparations are complete. Having reverted to his black-haired form, Burz's eyes announces they are heading to the Beast Tower immediately. High in the rainforest canopy, the stone temple of Ormith stands quiet under the cloudy sky. Whispers ripple through the crowd of heroes in awe of the legendary battle mage Captain Roselle Chart. The nearby heroes eagerly hope to greet her first, hoping to gain her recognition. Lounging on a rock, the orange-haired captain, Roselle Chart, coldly tells the group of nobodies to beat it. Her panicked brown-haired wizard assistant begs her to watch her language for their unit's public image. Roselle Chart dismisses his worries, questioning how she can conquer a tower with a bunch of nobodies. Watching from behind, Roselle Chart ignores the murmuring crowd as a new arrival approaches. The crowd murmurs in excitement as the 10-star hero Hillen Cargill joins the expedition. Hillen Cargill steps forward and politely greets Roselle Chart, offering his strength to the expedition. Roselle Chart sneers, calling him a thick-faced loser and asking why he isn't wearing his filthy ring. She mockingly wonders if he took it off because there are no elves around here. Sweating nervously, Hillen Cargill laughs it off and begs her to talk about that later in private. Hillen Cargill desperately worries that his heroic image will be ruined if she reveals his secret. Roselle Chart warns him not to get in her way, declaring she will be the one finishing off the Beast Demon King. Relieved to have made it on time, Burzdia silently thanks his luck as he arrives. The scene shifts abruptly to the upper floor of the gloomy Tower of Beasts. Inside the dark chamber, Draxen sits upon his throne as the gathered Demon Kings assemble. The stone-skinned Diamond Demon King, Ugar Belbeck, demands to know what is important enough to warrant an emergency meeting. Jason Cockmundo, the Demon King of Lies, wonders if the emergency meeting concerns the hero party gathering in Ormith. Smiling grimly, Draxen decides to get straight to the point, since they already suspect the situation. Draxen accuses one of the gathered Demon Kings of sending a high-ranked demon into his territory. Draxen reveals with fury that the intruder stole the precious Phoenix's corpse he intended to absorb. Realizing Apir is trying to eliminate him, Draxen growls that he will not go down alone. Driven by sheer hatred, Draxen vows to hunt down and kill the traitorous bastard responsible. Unleashing his bloodlust, Draxen announces he will buy the Black Box key to expose them. System records describe the legendary Black Box, a device that logs every movement of a Demon King. The long-forgotten tracking device has remained unused because it demands immense energy and disappears upon tower collapse. Acquiring the key requires an impossible sum of 9,999,000 demonic energy points. If the impending hero expedition fails, Draxen will buy the key to open the records. Walking beside Gordon through the snow, Burz realizes he must act swiftly before Draxen can get the key. With cold determination flashing in his eyes, Burz resolves that Draxen must die. Burzy orders a final inspection of his own tower starting from the first floor as Gordon confirms readiness. Entering the first floor, Burz is greeted by a boisterous dwarf showcasing a massive mechanical war machine. The eccentric boss Roger Friedrich proudly boasts about the Infernal Catapult Mark I he built using the Hellforge. Roger gets carried away, praising his glorious creation, calling it a masterpiece beyond anything in existence. Roger excitedly rants about his weapon's cutting-edge capabilities, listing its devastating attributes and infinite tactical features. Burzay questions the dwarf's sanity, but Gordon reassures him that the weapon's impressive performance is undeniable. Burzay decides to let him work, prompting Roger to joyfully promise even bigger and stronger weapons. The scene shifts to the second floor, where a confident voice echoes through the training hall. The fierce second-floor boss, Kade Jespine, rushes forward with her sword drawn. Screaming that he will regret it, Cade unleashes a massive glowing blue magical slash. A sharp crack echoes as Burz effortlessly catches and shatters the incoming energy wave with his hand. Shards of magic shatter like glass around him as he calmly states that nothing has changed despite her training. Refusing to back down, Kaede readies her flaming sword and declares it is time to get serious. Smiling mockingly, Burz acknowledges her minor improvement, but hints that it is still far from enough. Blown backward, Kaede screams in disbelief as her ultimate technique is effortlessly countered. Burz reacts with mild surprise as he senses a sudden summoning ritual commencing nearby. A system notification announces that Senial powder has been successfully consumed for the summoning ritual. A soft drip sounds as blood droplets fall, sealing a soul contract with an ancient spirit. The summoning circle erupts in a blinding, intricate pattern of bright blue magical light. The name Niruniel is chanted aloud, calling forth the powerful entity from the waters. The high-rank water spirit Niruniel materializes gracefully in a stunning gown of liquid light. Gazing at her summoner, Niruniel murmurs in soft curiosity. Her luminous blue eye glows with ancient power as she inspects her master. Responding to the call, Niruniel begins declaring her oath in accordance with the ancient pact. Floating majestically, the high-rank water spirit formally introduces herself to seal the bond. The blonde girl floats weightlessly, her arms outstretched as water swirls around her. With closed eyes, she basks in the gentle flow of her newly summoned companion. Soft tap sounds as Burzy catches her in his arms, carrying her gently through the rain. Smiling warmly, Burzay praises her impressive summon, admitting he almost missed the beautiful sight. Blushing deeply, she humbly credits the success to the Senial powder the Demon King provided. Violet eyes sparkle with pure happiness and admiration as she looks at him. Suddenly realizing something bizarre, her happy expression vanishes into utter confusion. Terrified of his silent stare, the blonde girl desperately screams that she didn't mean it that way. Burzé Deus warns that she has summoned a troublesome spirit, while the embarrassed blonde princess panics over her slip-up, and the blue-haired water spirit Neruniel boldly proclaims her love for the Demon King. Holding the blushing blonde princess close, Burzé Deus questions the water spirit's nonsense while the princess stammers in total confusion. Clutching her face in deep embarrassment, the blonde princess stammers in shock and demands to know what Neruniel is talking about. Neruniel smiles slyly as she mentions that rumors about the pure love Demon King and the princess have already reached the spirit realm. Neruniel teases the pair about their relationship status, ignoring the princess's desperate plea to return, while Burzé Deus suddenly commands them to wait. Burzé Deus asks Neruniel how he appears to her, but dismisses her romanticized answer and demands a serious response. Revealing his red-haired form amidst blazing flames, Burzé Deus asks what he looks like now. Neruniel is stunned, questioning the sudden presence of such pure and clean mana radiating from his disguised form. Burzé Deus realizes that if a high-rank spirit is easily fooled, other demon kings and heroes will not notice his disguise either. Smiling grimly, Burzé Deus resolves that he can now personally take down the Beast Demon King. The blonde princess realizes in disbelief that the Demon King intends to eliminate another of his own kind. A brilliant white streak flashes across the cloudy blue sky, marking the rapid flight toward their destination. Appearing via a magic projection screen, a panicked Gordon screams in utter disbelief at his master's decision. Gordon protests the absurdity of a Demon King hunting another, but Burzé Deus calmly responds that he has already explained his reasoning. Burzé Deus casually announces he is going to kill Draxen, leaving a frantic Gordon screaming that it makes absolutely no sense. Burzé Deus asks why Gordon is still questioning his decisions, prompting Gordon to argue that this situation is completely different. Burzé Deus flies swiftly through the sky, his massive black wings beating against the clouds. Gordon warns of dire consequences if the other Demon Kings discover Burzé Deus's unconventional actions. Burzé Deus explains that he must eliminate Draxen before he accesses the black box or his secrets will be exposed. Gordon warns that the mission is too dangerous because Burzé Deus has not yet adapted to the dimensional energy of Arain. The system explains how a dimension fiercely rejects and crushes outside invaders with powerful dimensional energy. The system illustrates how the dimensional energy severely suppresses and weakens powerful demons entering the realm of Arain. The system notes that these weakened demon intruders are easily eliminated by the dimension's chosen heroes. The system reveals that the Demon King's tower was specifically built to overcome this dimensional resistance. The narration emphasizes that the tower serves as the absolute source of a Demon King's strength. Gordon points out that Burzé Deus's power weakens away from his 5-floor tower, unlike the massive 13-floor Beast Tower. Gordon reluctantly admits that despite Burzé Deus's immense power, invading the enemy territory poses an extreme risk. Gordon concludes that inside the Beast Tower, a favorable outcome is far from guaranteed. Burzé Deus acknowledges that he has not yet fully adapted to the oppressive dimensional energy. Enveloped in brilliant purple flames, the winged figure speeds forward through the blue sky. Burzé Deus admits that facing any other Demon King in his current state would be a difficult battle. Burzé Deus hints that he won't be alone, causing Gordon to realize his master's bold, reckless plan. Burzé Deus confidently declares that he will infiltrate the hero expedition in person under the alias Pale. Speechless shock and alarm ripple through the connection at his incredibly daring revelation. The scene shifts to the lush region of Ormeth as fiery orange feathers drift through the sky. The ancient stone tower of Ormeth stands tall amidst the vast mist-covered rainforest canopy. A sharp blade slices a demonic wolf, sending blood splattering across the battlefield. The soldiers note that the attacking demons have grown incredibly weak and order a retreat as the beasts flee. Pale asks the exhausted knight why everyone is worn out, causing the startled man to nearly address him by his true title. Pale sternly commands the knight to refer to him only as Pale, and the knight quickly complies. The knight explains that once enough heroes assembled, they immediately advanced directly toward the Beast Tower. The knight reports they targeted the Beast Demon King's tail per Pale's advice, weakening him significantly. During the heat of battle, the knight screamed for Lady Roselle to strike at the perfect moment. Lady Roselle knelt on the battlefield, holding her glowing crescent staff amidst the chaotic retreat. The knight looked on in dismay at the severed remains of the defeated beasts. The knight grimly reveals to Pale that their heroic expedition ultimately ended in complete failure. Pale smiles deviously as he says he fully understands the outcome of their failed mission. Sweating and laughing nervously, the frantic man realizes he is completely done for. The knight notes that despite their defeat, they dealt the enemy a heavy blow and eliminated many demons. Pale's eyes widen with a sudden spark of hope as he realizes there is still time. Pale orders the group to restart the expedition immediately before Draxen has a chance to restore his tower. The worried knight is completely shocked to hear that Rosal Charnt was attacked, frustratingly questioning why Valaf Disrod failed to protect the mage. Approaching from behind, Rosal Charnt reveals that Valaf Disrod cowardly bolted right before they reached the Beast Tower. Rosal Charnt bitterly explains that Valaf Disrod's sponsors are money-obsessed fools who actually profit from keeping the enemy tower intact. The knight introduces the late-arriving Pale to Rosal Charnt as they stand together in the dense forest clearing. Rosal Charnt asks Pale if he is still willing to try again despite the messy defeat, prompting a shocked reaction from the knight. Rosal Charnt fiercely vows to slaughter the Beast Demon King for what he did to her eyes, refusing to ever back down. Rosal Charnt suspiciously questions Pale's true identity and wonders why he is going to such extreme lengths to help them. Rosal Charnt senses an incredibly pure, clean warmth radiating from Pale, unlike any energy she has ever experienced before. Feeling the quiet intensity of his own disguised magic, Pale mutters to himself in soft contemplation. The defeated soldiers rest in the forest, their spirits entirely crushed by the failed expedition. An exhausted warrior sits in deep silence, staring at the ground in utter hopelessness. Pale realizes that simply healing their physical wounds with potions will never suffice when their morale is completely shattered. Pale decides that displaying a fraction of his true power is necessary to motivate the soldiers toward killing Draxon. A brilliant golden light suddenly bathes the dark forest floor, capturing the soldiers' bewildered attention. The astonished soldiers look upward in disbelief as a warm, powerful energy fills the air. Pale calmly tells Rosal to stay calm and follow his lead as she gasps in shock at his emerging power. Pale floats majestically into the air, declaring himself the master of the Phoenix as a giant firebird erupts behind him. Looking down upon the awestruck soldiers, the powerful red-haired warrior proudly introduces himself as Pale. With fiery determination burning behind him, Pale boldly announces his ultimate mission to slay the Beast Demon King. Rosal Charnt is stunned, wondering if this mythical phoenix was the source of the overwhelming power that recently filled the sky. Rosal marvels that his mana rivals 10-star heroes, realizing their chances of victory will skyrocket if they fight alongside him. Draxon Doldorf, the Beast Demon King, grumbles from his cavernous throne about wasting too many demonic energy points reclaiming his tower. Draxon eagerly prepares to force open the authorized black box, leaving the other locked boxes aside for later. The black box unlocks, projecting a glowing stream of untampered additional memories into the air. Draxon stares in absolute horror as the untamperable truth of the black box reveals a shocking secret. A thunderous, agonizing roar of pure rage echoes throughout the depths of the cavern. Soldiers cheer wildly, completely re-energized by the belief that the legendary Phoenix is helping them win the Beast Demon King's treasure. Pale is glad their morale has recovered, but remains quietly concerned about his ability to freely control the Phoenix's mana in battle. Pale suggests that since 10-star heroes alone might not suffice, they should recruit additional powerful allies to strengthen their force. Rosal Charnt smiles deviously, announcing that a very helpful hero has just arrived and volunteered to join their dangerous mission. Pale's eyes widen in sheer disbelief as he instantly recognizes the powerful warrior walking toward them. The arriving warrior is introduced as Ralph Schmitz, a legendary 10-star hero celebrated as the strongest of all shield masters. Ralph Schmitz stands firm, raising his massive shields against a savage pack of charging wolf beasts. As the narrator calls him the vanguard for this revenge mission, Ralph smashes his shields forward with a powerful cry. With a heavy slam, the golden shield crashes down, releasing a devastating shockwave against the enemies. The terrifying golden face carved upon the shield suddenly activates, its eyes glowing with brilliant power. A colossal burst of energy erupts from the shield, instantly obliterating the attacking beasts. The massive shield stands firmly planted in the shattered earth, protecting the entire army behind it. Ralph Schmitz is formally identified as the second strongest tank among all the renowned 10-star heroes. Pale grimly recalls that Ralph's shield reflects attacks back at enemies, remembering how incredibly painful it is to fight him. Pale's resentment deepens as he remembers Ralph Schmitz as one of the hateful heroes who defeated him in the past. Pale bitterly recalls how Ralph Schmitz and the other heroes mockingly humiliated him during his previous life. The blonde-haired hero smiles confidently, unaware of the deep-seated grudge Pale holds against him. Pale desperately wants to tear Rolf to shreds on the spot, but forces himself to focus on Draxon first. Rosal explains that Ralph arrived late, just like Pale, hoping that waiting a bit longer will yield even more allies. Clutching her fist, Rosal confidently declares that with both of them present, they can win without losing a single soul. Pale warns Rosal not to underestimate a Demon King, even as the cheering soldiers celebrate clearing the first floor. Rosal stops and looks back at Pale in absolute confusion after hearing his grim warning. Pale coldly explains that a Demon King always holds a secret trump card, reserved as a deadly last resort. Pale calculates that the Demon King has spent too much energy reclaiming his tower to stop them. He anxiously contemplates the terrifying hidden power of Draxon's ultimate trump card. Reaching the top floor, the heroes discover that all the lesser demons have suddenly vanished. Draxen boasts of gathering all his forces to wipe them out, while Pale spots his loophole. Two eager heroes charge forward, shouting to attack the Demon King while he is powering up. A sudden terrifying red flash cuts through the air, freezing the charging heroes in absolute shock. A massive, blinding explosion erupts across the battlefield with a thunderous roar. A colossal green energy beam crashes downward, completely overwhelming the battlefield. Amidst swirling crimson energy, the terrifying form of the beast wolf snarlingly emerges. The beast stands triumphant as a wave of destructive green and red aura sweeps outwards. A realization of dread begins to dawn upon the surviving warriors. The monstrous Wolf King bares his razor-sharp fangs, radiating pure malice and bloodlust. The terrifying true form of the Demon King of Beasts is finally revealed. Giant tails of dark red energy erupt behind the towering silhouette of the beast. The remaining heroes stand frozen in horror, staring at the sheer scale of the threat. Overwhelmed by the suffocating pressure of demonic energy, the battered warriors struggle to breathe. With a brilliant whoosh, majestic fiery wings spread wide to scatter glowing embers. A sudden collective gasp of utter disbelief echoes through the suffocating red mist. The soldiers cheer wildly, thanking Lord Pale for saving them with his incredible barrier. A fallen priestess tearfully promises to never forget Pale's life-saving favor. Pale calmly evaluates the battlefield, realizing the others will only hinder him from here on. Pale deploys his fiery wings, commanding the survivors to remain safely inside the protective barrier. From his towering perspective, the Demon King sneers down at the tiny barrier holding the survivors. Beast notes that only 4 warriors are still standing inside the Golden Dome. Looking at the remaining group, the Wolf King senses an exceptionally troublesome source of mana. Pale stares back with calm defiance as the demonic pressure intensifies around them. The Demon King demands to know the true identity of the mysterious red-haired warrior. The Wolf King's red eyes flare with sudden, terrifying recognition of his ancient foe. Pale lets out a wicked grin, completely unfazed by the beast's growing anger. The towering Demon King looks down menacingly at the 4 survivors huddled in the Golden Dome. He confirms that only 4 remain, sensing the uniquely powerful mana of his main target. The beast demands to know who stands before him hidden under the red hair. A sinister, confident smirk spreads across Pale's face as he prepares for battle. With a thunderous, furious roar, the Beast King screams the legendary name of Burza Des. The wolf lunges in rage as Ralph Schmidt steps forward to block with his massive shields. Pale swiftly raises his hand to activate a silent domain that completely erases all sound. The massive beast crashes heavily against the shield barrier, his thunderous roar suddenly muffled. Rosal quickly starts chanting her spell, realizing Pale's silent domain is masking her voice. The silence magic perfectly conceals their incantations, keeping the Demon King completely in the dark. Golden chains of high-rank binding magic erupt from magic circles tightly wrapping around the beast. The wolf struggles furiously against his glowing bonds, screaming that such tricks are useless. With a sudden crash, the beast breaks free and claws directly toward Pale's head. The surrounding heroes freeze in sheer terror as the lethal blow descends. The furious Wolf King vows to tear Burz Deus to shreds on the spot. Pale remains completely still, staring back at his incoming foe with chilling composure. Pale mockingly tells the beast that he cannot hear his loud barking over the silence. A system notification confirms that the silent status is permanently active on the raging beast. Roselle and the blue-haired knight scream in terror as Pale faces the monster alone. The massive Wolf King dives down the cliffside to strike the hovering Firewing Pale. A catastrophic explosion shatters the cliffside as their clash releases a devastating shockwave. A massive crash echoes as rock debris falls amid the blazing golden energy lines. The warriors struggle to track the beast's blinding movements as light flashes around them. The blue-haired knight urges the others to focus and strictly follow Pale's command. The raging Wolf King screams his ancient foe's legendary name, vowing to kill him. Pale glides downwards through the air, his brilliant flaming wings trailing behind him. Violent crimson slashes tear through the sky as feathers scatter around the calm warrior. Pale reveals a glowing purple relic, identifying it as the legendary Armon's Orb. The Beast King reacts in shock upon recognizing the powerful purple artifact in Pale's hand. The Wolf King sneers at the orb, but Pale calmly explains its true purpose as he crushes it. The Wolf King mocks Pale, claiming that summoning his allies to this location is entirely useless. The blue-haired knight clutches his head in intense agony, furious at the orb's painful resonance. The furious Demon King violently curses his opponent, enraged by his clever schemes. The shocked beast realizes Pale enslaved a hero, while Pale mockingly boasts about its usefulness. The beast sneers at Pale's pride, dismissing the trick as a minor nuisance. The massive beast coldly looks down upon his opponents with utter contempt. Golden magic circles align in the sky, ready to unleash a devastating barrage. The monstrous Wolf King looks up in sudden alarm as immense magical energy gathers overhead. Pale lays out his tactical plan, telling Rosal to prepare her ultimate strike on his signal. Pale encourages Roselle to channel all her deep-seated rage into her next attack. Rosal gathers her magical strength, fueled by vengeance for the loss of her eye. Roselle screams in raw determination, focusing her entire mana pool into one lethal strike. Colossal golden beam of energy erupts downward, unleashing the devastating satellite cannon. The terrified beast screams in agony as the blinding pillar of light consumes you. Helen Cargill stands ready alongside Pale behind a protective hexagonal magic shield. Roselle gathers her footing behind the massive golden shields of the legendary Vanguard Ralph. A massive, fiery explosion completely engulfs the battlefield with a deafening roar. Heavy gray smoke rises from a deep crater, revealing the dark silhouette of the beast. The four surviving warriors stand together, watching the dust settle over the devastated battlefield. The heavily wounded Wolf King rises from the rubble, fiercely cursing his opponents. Pale realizes the terrifying resilience of the Demon King, noting how hard he is to defeat. The enraged beast savagely impales Roselle and Helen with red energy spikes, promising absolute slaughter. The monstrous Wolf King lunges directly at Pale, mocking his faded legendary power. Pale smirks wickedly as he summons a concentrated spark of the legendary Phoenix's hidden magic. The towering beast stares in sudden dread, realizing Pale still holds the Phoenix's true flame. A massive burst of fire erupts as Pale unleashes a devastating direct magical strike. The bloodied Wolf King desperately screams, refusing to accept his imminent defeat. Wounded monster is sent flying backward as Ralph stands firm behind a shield. A vital realization strikes the heroes, identifying the beast's tail as his vulnerable weak point. Despite her severe wounds, Roselle desperately casts a spell to seize their final opportunity. The beast panics as high-rank sage's chains bind him, knowing another hit would be fatal. Helen Cargill channels his remaining strength to prepare a decisive water-based sword slash. The trapped demon screams Pale's legendary former name one last time in pure terror. With the desperate final roar, the doomed king cries out the hero's name. A brilliant, clean slash of concentrated water energy shears cleanly through the target. Exhausted and bloodied, the brave knight stands firm after delivering his ultimate blow. Pale smiles confidently to himself, planning to utilize the Phoenix's incredible powers to the fullest. A final, solemn message bids farewell to Draxen as the epic struggle concludes. The severed head of the terrifying Wolf King flies through the air, defeated. The monster's head crashes heavily onto the grassy ground, rolling to a silent stop. The surviving soldiers look on in disbelief, quietly celebrating their hard-fought victory. Helen Cargill imagines receiving endless praise as the greatest hero of all time. The bloodied light brown-haired warrior smiles maniacally, proudly identifying himself as Helen Cargill. Pale stands in silence next to the bloody, severed head of the defeated Beast King. Pale wonders if the fallen Demon King Draxen Doldorf will receive a second chance. The scene shifts to the lush jungle, where Roselle realizes this was Pale's plan all along. The chibi, orange-haired woman asserts her claim over the corpse of the Beast King. The soldier waves frantically, calling for Lady Roselle, trying to examine a discovery in the ruins. The scouts reveal that a mysterious find has been uncovered within the ruined tower. The third princess of the Akan kingdom, Lavinia Akan, sits huddled with a melancholic expression. The orange-haired woman screams in sheer shock upon discovering Princess Lavinia in the ruins. Roselle furiously questions Lavinia about her insane plan to gather materials for a chimera. Roselle scolds the princess for recklessly entering the tower just to collect monster carcasses. The onlookers sweat nervously, baffled by how Roselle is translating the princess's brief mutterings. Roselle discovers that Lavinia traded money to the Demon King in exchange for monster bodies. Pale realizes the source of the Demon King's fortune as the group escorts the princess home. The scene transitions to the dark and mysterious council chambers of the Hero Go. Holographic screens of the elite council members flicker within the grand vaulted meeting hall. The council discusses a mysterious newcomer known as the Phoenix's Master who led the expedition. The elders are alarmed to learn that this powerful Phoenix's Master is unaffiliated with their guild. An elder suggests tightening control over all heroes due to the consecutive abnormal events. A menacing silhouetted figure with glowing white eyes plots to reassert the guild's control. The council orders an immediate investigation into the true identity of the mysterious savior. A lavish celebratory banquet is held within the grand hall of the Ormouth Royal Palace. The tearful king expresses his profound gratitude to the heroes for rescuing his princes. Helen and Roselle share a playful banter during the banquet about the departed princess. Roselle wonders about the sudden disappearance of Pale, wishing she could ask him some questions. The excited soldiers join the conversation, eager to express their gratitude to their savior Pale. The crowd is astonished as the legendary Vanguard Ralph Schmidt suddenly begins to speak. Helen breaks the news that Pale has already quietly departed from the celebration. The scene abruptly shifts to the snowy peaks surrounding the ominous Bursa's tower. A dark figure returns to the snow-covered fortress as a welcoming voice greets him. The elf-eared butler is dumbfounded when his master calmly confirms he killed the Demon King. The butler panics over the political aftermath while his master simply complains about the rising dust. Pale sits on his throne, realizing he must remain present to avoid raising suspicion. The butler finally understands the strategic reason behind his master's swift return to the tower. A close-up of Pale's eyes reveals his deep contemplation over the recent fierce battle. Despite his overwhelming victory, the proud Demon King humbles himself, acknowledging his remaining weakness. Pale analyzes that the defeated Beast King had already been severely weakened before their duel. He recalls that his finishing blow failed to deliver the devastating impact he had expected. Pale resolves to nurture both his own demonic powers and the Sleeping Phoenix's magical flame. A holographic communication from a white-haired demon of high standing suddenly interrupts Pale's thoughts. Pale is surprised when the messenger proposes an urgent assembly of all the demon kings. The messenger officially delivers the shocking news of Draxen Doldorf's death to the council. The messenger explains that they must gather to address the death of the new king. Pale reacts in absolute disbelief at the impossibly rapid descent of a new demon king. Pale suspects Archduke Alkine's involvement but remains confident that no evidence links him to the crime. Confident in his cover, Pale strides boldly into the Grand Chamber to attend the summit. A pink-haired demon queen with bat wings greets Pale, acknowledging his growing legendary reputation. The seductive pink-haired demon queen introduces herself with a charming smile. The queen of the Blood Moon clan proudly reveals her name as Vivian Blunt. A soft scraping sound echoes as Pale settles into his throne, quietly introducing himself as Burzy Deus. Vivian Blunt narrows her crimson eyes, deeply intrigued by his unexpected behavior. The fierce, beast-like demon king refuses to believe Draxen fell so easily, finding the trespassing demon highly suspicious. The massive king orders Vivian Blunt to thoroughly investigate the incident and keep a close watch on Burzy Deus. Vivian Blunt contemplates the dire consequences if any fellow demon king has broken their established rules. She identifies the primary suspect as the one who insulted their playbook, obediently accepting her monarch's command. With a sly lick of her lips, Vivian eagerly plans to tease and win over the prickly new demon king. A sharp clacking sound interrupts the white-haired elder as he attempts to officially begin the summit. Walking with confident clicks of her heels, Vivian mocks the idea of demon kings teaming up over a single death. Her heels clack sharply against the floor as she declares she has found something far more interesting to focus on. Vivian adopts a highly provocative posture, flashing a seductive smile as she closes in on Pale. She sits provocatively, crossing her legs as cherry blossoms float around her to heighten the allure. Pale dryly demands to know her intentions as Vivian leans in, admitting her intense curiosity about the demon who disrupted their realm. Vivian openly praises Pale's good looks, confidently declaring her sudden fondness for him. A sharp smack rings out as Pale coldly slaps her hand away, warning her not to touch him. The succubus queen stands frozen in absolute disbelief, struggling to comprehend that she was just rejected. Flabbergasted and sweating, Vivian repeatedly stammers in utter shock at her seductive charms being completely dismissed. Lady Reyna clears her throat, firmly instructing Vivian Blunt to return to her seat as Pale watches silently. The white-haired elder reacts in surprise upon realizing that Lady Reyna is the one directing the assembly. Vivian mockingly accuses Reyna of wanting Pale for herself, drawing a contemptuous sigh from the ice-crowned lady. The uneventful meeting proceeds with shared intelligence until an unexpected major topic suddenly shifts the entire discussion. The Demon Kings focus their attention on the sudden appearance of the mysterious Phoenix's master. Despite divided opinions, the assembly concludes with a unanimous decision to investigate and remain vigilant against this newcomer. Pale resolves to be far more cautious, knowing his dual identity must remain completely hidden from demonic spies.